Act 1 of The Schoolmistress by Arthur Wing Pinero. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Schoolmistress, a Farce in 3 Acts by Arthur Wing Pinero. The Persons of the Play.
The Honorable Vere Queckett, read by Peter Tucker.
Miss Dyott,
Of Volumnia College for Daughters of Gentlemen.
read by Sonia.
Admiral Rankling,
Of Her Majesty's Flagship Pandora.
read by Son of the Exiles.
Mrs. Rankling, read by
Dinah, read by Leanne YauMr
Mr. Reginald Paulover, read by Tomas
Peggy Hesslerigge,
An Articled Pupil.
read by Eva DavisLieutenant
Lieutenant John Mallory,
Of Her Majesty's Flagship Pandora.
read by Nemo.
Mr. Saunders,
Mr. Mallory's Nephew, of the Training Ship Dexterous.
read by Chuck Williamson.
GwendoLine Hawkins, read by Kieren
MettsErmyntrude Johnson, read by Kalinda.
Otto Bernstein,
A popular composer.
read by Alan Mapstone.
Tyler,
A servant.
read by Rob Board.
Jane Chipman, read by Iki Tavi.
Goth, read by Recording Person.
Jeffrey, read by Sandra Schmidt.
Stage directions read by Todd. Act 1. The Mystery. The scene is the reception room at Miss Dyott's Seminary for Young Ladies, known as Volumnia College, Volumnia House, near Portland Place. The windows look on to the street, and a large door at the further end of the room opens to the hall, where there are some portmanteaus standing, while there is another door on the spectator's right. Jane Chipman, a stout, middle-aged servant, and Tyler, an unhealthy-looking youth wearing a page's jacket, enter the room, carrying between them a large travelling trunk.
Old Dad! Old Dad! Oh, phew!
They rest the trunk on the floor. Tyler dabs his forehead with a small dirty handkerchief, which he passes on to Jane.
Excuse me for not offering it to you first, Jane.
Jane, dabbing the palms of her hands.
Don't know me, Tyler. Do you happen to know what time it starts?
2:30, I heard say.
It's a queer thing, going away like this alone. Not to say nothing of a schoolmistress leaving a lot of foolish young girls for a month or 6 weeks.
Tyler, sitting despondently on the trunk.
Cook and the parlour maid got rid of too. It's not much of a Christmas vacation we shall get, you and me, Jane.
You're right.
Sitting on the sofa.
Let's see. How many of our young ladies haven't gone home for their holidays?
Well, there's Miss Hawkins.
Our people is in India.
Miss Johnson.
Our people is in the divorce court.
Miss Hesslerigge.
Oh, she ain't got no home. She's an orphan, studying for to be a governess.
Then there's this new girl, Miss Rankling.
Dinah Rankling?
Yes, Dina Rankling. Now why is she to spend her Xmas at our college? She's the daughter of Admiral Rankling, and the Ranklings live just round the corner at Collinwood House.
Oh, she's been falling in love or something, and has got to be locked up.
Well then, last but not least, there's the individual who is kicking his heels about the house and giving himself the airs of the haughty.
Jane, mysteriously.
What? Mrs. Husband?
Yes, Mrs.'s husband.
Ah, mark my word. If ever there was a mystery, there's one.
Who is he? Mrs. brings him home about a month ago and doesn't introduce him to us or to nobody. The order is she's still to be called Miss Dyott, and we don't know even his nasty name.
Jane, returning to the trunk.
She calls him Ducky.
Yes, but we can't call him Ducky.
Pointing to the handkerchief which Jane has left upon the sofa.
My handkerchief, please. I don't let anybody use it.
Jane, returning the handkerchief.
Excuse me.
In putting the handkerchief into his breast pocket, he first removes a handful of cheap-looking squibs.
Look, you carry 'em deadly fireworks about with you, Tyler.
Tyler, regarding them fondly.
Fireworks is my only dissipation. There ain't much danger unless anybody lunges at me.
Producing some dirty crackers from his trousers pockets, and regarding them with gloomy relish.
Friction is the risk I run.
Jane, palpitating.
Oh, don't, Tyler. How can you have such an anchoring?
Tyler, intensely.
It's more than an anchoring. I love to order 'em and mellow 'em. Today they're damp, tomorrow they're dry, and when the time comes for me to let 'em off...
Then they don't go off?
Tyler, putting the fireworks away.
Perhaps not. And it's their horrible uncertainty what I crave after. Lift your end, Jane.
They take up the trunk as Gwendoline Hawkins and Ermyntrude Johnson, two pretty girls, the one gushing, the other haughty in manner, appear in the hall.
Here are Miss Dyott's boxes. She is really going today. I am so happy.
What an inexpressible relief. Oh, Tyler, I'm dissatisfied with the manner in which my shoes are polished.
Yes, and Tyler, you never fed my mice last night.
It ain't my place. Birds and mice is Jane's place.
Oh, you are an inhuman boy.
Shaking Tyler.
You are a creature.
Don't choke 'em, miss. Don't choke 'em.
Peggy Hesslerigge enters through the hall, and comes between Tyler and Gwendoline. Peggy is a shabbily dressed, untidy girl, with wild hair and inky fingers. Her voice is rather shrewish, and her actions are jerky. Altogether she has the appearance of an overwise and neglected child.
Leave the boy alone, Gwendoline Hawkins. What has he done?
He won't feed my darling pets.
And he is generally a lower order.
Go away, Tyler.
Tyler and Jane deposit the trunk in the hall with the other baggage, and disappear.
You silly girls. To make an enemy of the boy at the very moment we depend upon his devotion. It's just like you, Ermyntrude Johnson.
Don't you threaten me with your inky finger, Miss Hesslerigge, please.
Ugh. Haven't we sworn to help Dinah Rankling with our last breath? Haven't we sworn to free her from the chains of tyranny and oppression, and never to eat much until we've seen her safely and happily by her husband's side?
Yes, but we can't truckle to a pale and stumpy boy, you know.
We can. We've got to. If Dinah's husband is ever to enter this house, we must crouch before the instrument who opens the door, however short, however pasty.
Dinah, calling outside.
Are you there, girls?
Peggy, jumping and clapping her hands.
Here's Dinah.
Dinah!
They run up to the door to receive and embrace Dinah, who enters through the hall. Dinah is an exceedingly pretty and simple-looking girl of about 16.
We've been waiting for you, Dinah.
And now you're going to keep your promise to us, ain't you?
My promise?
To tell us all about it from beginning to end.
Dinah, bashfully.
Oh, I can't. I don't like to.
You must. We've only heard your story in bits.
But where's Miss Dyott?
Out. Out. Out!
And where is he, Miss Dyott's husband?
What, the mystery?
Skipping across to the left-hand door, and, going down on her knees, peering through the keyhole.
It's all right. 1 o'clock in the day, and he's not down yet. The imp. I'd cold sponge him if I were Miss Dyott. Places, young ladies.
Ermyntrude sits with Dinah on the sofa, Gwendoline being at Dinah's feet. Peggy perches on the edge of the table with her feet on a chair.
Now then, Mrs. What's your name, Dinah?
Dinah, drooping her eyelids.
Paulover. Mrs. Reginald Paulover.
Attention for Mrs. Paulover's narrative, Chapter 1.
Well, dears, I met him at a party at Mrs. St. Dunstan's in the Cromwell Road. He was presented to Mamma and me by Major Padgate.
Vote of thanks to Major Padgate. I wish we knew him, young ladies. Well?
I bowed, of course, and then Mr. Paulover asked me whether I didn't think the evening was rather warm.
He soon began to rattle on then. It was his conversation that attracted you, I suppose?
Oh no, love came very gradually. We were introduced at about 10 o'clock, and I didn't feel really drawn to him till long after 11. The next day being Ma's at-home day, Major Padgate brought him to tea.
Young ladies, what is your opinion of Major Padgate?
I think he must be awfully considerate.
He's not. He called my Reginald a young shaver.
That's contemptible enough. How old is your Reginald?
He is much my senior. He was 17 in November. Well, the following week Reginald proposed to me in the conservatory. He spoke very sensibly about settling down, and how we were not growing younger, and how he'd seen a house in Park Lane which wasn't to let, but which very likely would be to let some day. And then we went into the drawing room and told Mamma.
Well?
Dinah, breaking down and putting her handkerchief to her eyes.
Oh, I shall never forget the scene. I never shall.
Don't cry, Dinah.
They all tried to console her.
Mamma, who is very delicate, went into violent hysterics and tore at the hearth-rug with her teeth. But a day or two afterwards she grew a little calmer, and promised to write to Papa, who was with a ship at Malta.
And did she?
Yes. Papa, you know, is Admiral Rankling. His ship, the Pandora, has never run into anything, and so Papa is a very distinguished man.
And what was his answer?
He telegraphed home one terrible word. Bosh!
Oh, he ought to be struck into a Flying Dutchman.
The telegraphic rate from Malta necessitates abruptness, but I can never forgive the choice of such a phrase. But it decided our fate. 3 weeks ago, when I was supposed to be selecting walls at Whiteley's, Reginald and I were secretly united at the registry office.
Oh, how lovely.
How romantic.
We declared we were much older than we really are, but as Reginald said, trouble had aged us, so it wasn't a story. At the doors of the registry office, we parted.
How horrible.
I couldn't have done that.
And when I reached home, there was a letter from Papa ordering Mamma to have me locked up at once in a boarding school. And here I am, torn from my husband, my letters opened by Miss Dyott, quite friendless and alone.
No, that you're not, Dinah. Listen to me. Miss Dyott is going out of town today, and I'm left in charge. I'm a poor governess, but playing jailer over bleeding hearts is not in my articles. And if your husband comes to Volumnia House and demands his wife, he doesn't go away without you. Does he, young ladies?
No.
We will do as we would be done by, won't we?
Yes.
The street door bell is heard. The girls cling to each other.
Oh.
Dinah, trembling.
Miss Dyott!
Tyler is seen crossing the hall. Peggy runs to the window and looks out.
No, it isn't. It's the postman.
A letter from Reginald!
Tyler enters with 3 letters. Peggy, sweetly.
Anything for us, Tyler dear?
Tyler, looking at the letters, which he guards with one arm.
One for Miss Dina Rankling.
Oh!
Snatching at her letter, which Tyler quickly slips into his pocket.
My orders is to hand Miss Rankling's letters to the missus.
Handing a letter to Peggy.
Miss Hesslerigge.
Peggy, surprised.
For me?
Tyler, looking at the 3rd letter.
Oh, look here, here's a go.
What's that?
Tyler, dancing with delight.
Oh, crikey, this must be for him.
Miss Dyott's husband.
The
mystery.
The girls gather round Tyler and look over his shoulder. Peggy, reading the address.
It's readdressed from the Junior Amalgamated Club, St. James Street.
Snatching the letter from Tyler.
Gracious! The Honorable Vere Queckett.
The Honorable.
The Honorable.
What's that mean?
Young ladies, we have been entertaining a swell unawares.
Returning the letter to Tyler.
Take it up.
Swell or no swell, the person who soils 2 pairs of boots per diem daily is no friend of mine.
Tyler goes out. Peggy, opening her letter.
Oh, from Dinah's Reginald.
No.
Addressed to me.
Referring to the signature.
Reginald Percy Paulover.
Read it!
Peggy sits on the sofa, the three girls clustering round her, Dinah kneeling at her feet expectantly. Peggy, reading.
Montpellier Square, West Brompton. Dear Miss Hesslerigge, heaven will reward you. The letter wrapped round a stone which you threw me last night from an upper window of Volumnia House was handed to me after I had compensated the person upon whose head it unfortunately alighted. The news that Dinah has one friend in Volumnia House enabled me to get a little rest between 5:30 and 6 this morning.
One friend.
What about us?
Dinah kisses them.
Go on.
Peggy, reading.
Not having closed my eyes for 11 nights, sleep was of distinct value. Now, dear Miss Hesslerigge, inform Dinah that our apartments are quite ready.
Oh.
And that I shall present myself at Volumnia College to fetch away the dear love of my heart tonight at 9:30.
Tonight?
Oh, I've come over so frightened.
Tonight.
Waving the letter and dancing round with delight.
Finish the letter.
Peggy, resuming her seat and reading with emotion.
Please assure Dinah that I shall love her till death, and that the piano is now moving in. Dinah is my one thought. The former is on the 3-year system. Kiss my angel for me. Our carpet is Axminster, and I regret to say second-hand. But oh, our life will be a blessed, blessed dream, the worn part going well under the centre table. This evening at 9:30, gratefully yours, Reginald Percy Paulover. P.S. I shall be closely muffled up, as the corner lamp-post under which I stand is visible from the window of Admiral Rankling's dining room. You will know me by my faithful, trusty respirator. Oh, I'm so excited. I wish somebody was coming for me.
I know. We shall be frustrated by Jane.
Or Tyler.
Leave them to me. I'll manage 'em.
But there's Miss Dyott's husband.
What? Let the mysterious person who has won Miss Dyott pause before he steps between a young bride and a bridegroom. Ladies, Miss Dyott's husband is ours for the holidays. One frown from him, and his dinner shall be wrecked, his wine watered, his cigars dampened. He shall find us not girls, but gorgons.
A loud knock and ring are heard at the front door. Jane crosses the hall. Ermyntrude, Gwendoline, and Dinah, under their breath.
Miss
Dyott!
Miss Dyott!
They quickly disappear. Peggy remains, hastily concealing the letter. Miss Dyott enters. She is a good-looking, dark woman of dignified presence and rigid demeanour, her dress and manner being those of the typical schoolmistress.
Is that Miss Hesslerigge?
Peggy, demurely.
Yes, Miss Dyott.
How have the young ladies been employing themselves?
I have been reading aloud to them, Miss Dyott.
Is is my husband down yet?
I've not had the pleasure of seeing him, Miss Dyott.
You can join the young ladies, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Dyott.
In the doorway, she waves Reginald's letter defiantly, but quickly disappears as Miss Dyott turns around.
Now if Vere will only remain upstairs a few moments longer.
She goes hurriedly to the left-hand door, listens and turns the key, then to the centre door, listens again and appears satisfied, after which she throws open the window and waves her handkerchief, calling in a loud whisper,
Mr. Bernstein! Mr. Bernstein! I have left the door on the latch. Come in, please.
Closing the window and going to the door. Very shortly afterwards, Otto Bernstein, a little elderly German, with the air of a musician, enters the room.
Thank you for following me so quickly.
Closing the door and turning the key.
You seemed so agitated that I came after your cab mit another.
Agitated? Yes. Tell me, miserable woman that I am, tell me, what did I sound like at rehearsal this morning?
Capital, capital. Your voice comes out rich and beautiful. Mark my word, you will make a hit tonight. Have you seen your new name in the pills?
The pills?
The play pills.
I should drop flat on the pavement if I did.
It looks very fine.
Quoting,
Miss Constance Delaporte as Queen Honorine in Otto Bernstein's new comic opera Pierrette. Her first appearance in London.
Oh, how disgraceful.
Disgraceful? To sing such melodies? No, no, please, disgraceful? Why did you appeal to me 3 weeks ago to put you in the way of getting through the Christmas vacation?
Miss Dyott, tearfully.
Oh, you don't know everything. Sit down. I can trust you. You are my oldest friend, and were a pupil of my late eminent father. Mr. Bernstein, I am no longer a single woman.
Oh, I am very pleased. I wish you many happy returns of the... no. I congratulate you.
I am married secretly. Secretly, because my husband could never face the world of fashion as the consort of the proprietors of a scholastic establishment. You will gather from this that my husband is a gentleman.
So? Is he?
It had been a long-cherished ambition with me, if ever I married, to wed no one but a gentleman. I do not mean a gentleman in a mere parliamentary sense. I mean a man of birth, blood, and breeding. Respect my confidence. I have wedded the Honorable Vere Queckett.
Bernstein, unconcernedly.
Is he a very nice man?
Nice? Mr. Bernstein, you are speaking of a brother of Lord Limehouse.
Oh, am I? Lord Limehouse. Let me think. He is very, what you call it? Very popular just now. Yeah. He is in the bankruptcy court.
Miss Dyott, with pride.
Certainly. So is Harold Archidecant Queckett, Vere's youngest brother. So is Loftus Martineau Queckett, Vere's cousin. They have always been a very united family. But, dear Mr. Bernstein, you have accidentally probed the one, I won't say fault, the one most remarkable attribute of these great Saxon Quecketts.
Oh, yes, I see. You have to pay your husband's little pills.
Quite so. That is it. I have the honour of being employed in the gradual discharge of liabilities incurred by Mr. Vere Queckett since the year 1876. I am also engaged in the noble task of providing Mr. Queckett with the elaborate necessities of his present existence.
I know now why you wanted mine help.
Ah, yes. Volumnia College is not equal to the grand duty imposed upon it. It is absolutely necessary that I should increase my income. In my despair at facing this genial season, I wrote to you.
Proposing to turn your capital voice to account, eh?
Quite so, and suggesting that I should sing in your new oratorio.
Well, you are going to do so.
What? When you have induced me to figure in a comic opera?
Yeah. But I have told you I have used the music of my new oratorio for my new comic opera.
Ah, yes. That is my only consolation.
Will your good gentleman be in the stalls tonight?
In the stalls? At the theatre? Hush, Mr. Bernstein. It is a secret from Vere. Lest his suspicions should be aroused by my leaving home every evening, I have led him to think that I am visiting a clergyman's wife at Hereford. I shall really be lodging in Henrietta Street, Covent Garden.
Oh, why not tell him all about it?
Nonsense! Vere is a gentleman. He would insist upon attending me to and from the theatre.
Well, I should hope so.
No, no. He is himself a graceful dancer. A common chord of sympathy would naturally be struck between him and the coryphees. Oh, there is so much variety in Vere's character.
Well, you are a plucky woman. You deserve to be happy some day.
Happy? Think of the deception I am practising upon dear Vere. Think of the people who believe in the rigid austerity of Caroline Dyott, principal of Volumnia College. Think of the precious confidence reposed in me by the parents and relations of 27 innocent pupils. Give an average of 8½ relations to each pupil, multiply 8½ by 27, and you approximate the number whose trust I betray this night.
Yes, but think of the audience you will delight tonight in my oratorio, my comic opera. Oh, that reminds me.
Taking out a written paper from a pocketbook.
Here are 2 new verses of the political song for you to commit to memory before this evening. They are extremely good.
Miss Dyott, looking at the paper.
Mr. Bernstein, surely here is a veiled allusion to... Yes, I thought so. Oh, the unwarrantable familiarity! I can't even vocally allude to a perfect stranger as the grand old man.
Oh, now, he won't mind that.
But the tendency of the chorus...
Reading.
Doesn't he wish he may get it? Is opposed to my stern political convictions. Oh, what am I coming to?
Queckett's voice is heard. Queckett, calling outside.
Caroline! Caroline!
Here's Vere.
Hurriedly to Bernstein.
Goodbye, dear Mr. Bernstein. You understand why I cannot present you.
Bernstein, bustling.
Goodbye, till tonight. Mark my word, you will make a great hit.
Caroline!
Miss Dyott, unlocking the centre door.
Go. Let yourself out.
Good luck to you.
Miss Dyott, opening the door.
Yes, yes.
And success to my new oratorio. My comic opera.
Oh, go.
She pushes him out and closes the door, leaning against it faintly. Queckett, rattling the other door.
I say, Caroline!
Miss Dyott, calling to him.
Is that my darling Vere?
Yes!
She comes to the other door, unlocks and opens it. Vere Queckett enters. He is a fresh, breezy, dapper little gentleman of about 45, with fair curly hair, a small waxed moustache, and a simple boyish manner. He is dressed in the height of fashion, and wears a flower in his coat, and an eyeglass.
Good morning, Caroline. Good morning.
How is my little pet today?
Kisses his cheek, which he turns to her for the purpose.
Naughty Vere is down later than usual.
It isn't my fault, dear. The florist was late in sending my flower.
What a shame.
Queckett, shaking out a folded silk handkerchief.
Oh, by the by, Carrie, I want some fresh perfume in my bottles.
My Vere shall have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sitting before the fire, opening the newspaper, and humming a tune.
Let me see. Here we are. Court of Bankruptcy, before the official receiver. Limehouse came up again for hearing yesterday. How they bother him. They bothered me in 75. Now, here's a coincidence, Carrie. In 1875, my assets were nil. In 1885, dear old Bob's assets are nil. Now, that's deuced funny.
Vere, dear, have you forgotten what today is?
Queckett, referring to the head of paper.
December the 22nd.
Yes, but it's the day on which I am to quit my veery.
Oh, you've stuck to going then. Well, I dare say you're right, you know. You've a very bad cold. Nothing like change for a bad cold. Change of scene, change of pocket handkerchiefs, and so on.
But you don't say anything about your own lonely Christmas. I have married a man who is too unselfish.
The centre door opens slightly, and the heads of the three girls, Peggy, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude, appear one above the other, spying. Queckett, putting down his paper.
Lonely? By Jove, these inquisitive pupils of yours won't let a fellow be lonely. Upon my soul, they are vexing girls.
But they are a source of income, dear.
They're a source of annoyance. I've never had the measles. I've half a mind to catch it and give it to 'em. Now, if I could only while away my evenings somewhere, these vexing girls wouldn't so much matter.
He rises. The heads disappear, and the door closes. Listening.
What was that?
The front door, I think.
I thought it might be those vexing girls. They're always prying about. I was going to say, Carrie, why not let me withdraw my resignation at the Junior Amalgamated Club and continue my membership?
10 guineas a year for such an object I cannot afford, and will not pay, Vere.
Upon my soul, I might just as well be nobody the way I'm treated.
Oh, my king, don't say that. Have you thought about the Christmas expenses?
Frankly, my dear, I have not.
Have you forgotten that my rent is due on Friday?
Completely.
And then only think of your boots.
Oh, dash it all, what man of any position ever thinks of his boots?
Producing a letter.
The fact is, Caroline, I have had a note sent on to me from the club by my friend Jack Mallory. He's first lieutenant on the Pandora, you know, and just home after 4 years at Malta. He reached London yesterday and writes me.
Reading.
Now, old chap, do let's have one of our old rollicking nights together and...
What?
Eh?
Correcting himself.
He writes me...
Referring to the letter.
Now, old chap, do let me give you the details of our new self-loading 80-ton gun. Well, Carrie, what the deuce am I to do? It seems a nice gun.
She shrugs her shoulders.
Carrie, what is your Vere to do?
She makes no answer. He approaches her and touches her on the shoulder.
Carrie, look at your Vere. Vere speaks to you.
He sits on her lap. She looks up affectionately.
Carrie, darling, you know old Jack is such a devil.
Eh?
A nice devil, you know. An exceedingly nice devil. Now, I can't show up at the club after sending in my resignation. They'd quiz me awfully. But I must entertain poor old Jack.
Coaxingly.
Eh? Resignation sent in through misunderstanding, eh?
Pinching her cheek.
10 little guinea winnies, eh?
Not a guinea winnie. For a club, not half a guinea winnie.
Caroline, you forget what is due to me.
I wish I could forget what is due to everybody. Don't be cross, Vere. I'll fetch your hat and coat, and Vere shall go out for his little morning stroll. And if he promises not to be angry with his Caroline, there are 5 shillings to spend.
She gives him some silver. He looks up beamingly again.
My darling.
Miss Dyott, taking his face between her hands and kissing him.
Oh, you spoiled boy.
She runs out.
Now, what am I to do about Jack? I can't ask him here. Carrie would never allow it. And if she would, I couldn't stand the chaff about marrying a boarding school. No, I can't ask Jack here. Why can't I ask Jack here? Everybody in bed at 9 o'clock. Square the boy Tyler to wait. Bachelor lodgings near Portland Place. Extremely good address. Jack shall give me the details of that 80-ton gun. Yes, and we'll load it too. While I'm out, I'll send this wire to Jack.
Queckett, taking a telegraph form from the stationery cabinet and writing,
Come up tonight, dear old boy. 9:30 sharp. Diggings of humble bachelor. 80 Duke Street, Portland Place. Bring 2 or 3 good fellows. Vere. How much does that come to?
counting the words rapidly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No.
Getting confused.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Counting to the end.
I think it is 1 and something halfpenny, but it's all luck under the new regulations. Oh, and I haven't addressed it. Where's Jack's letter?
He takes the letter from his pocket. Peggy enters quietly. Seeing Queckett, she draws back, watching him. Peggy, to herself,
What is he doing now, the Guy Fawkes?
Queckett, referring to the letter,
Rovers Club.
Addressing the telegram.
John Mallory, Rovers Club. Let me see. That's in Green Street, Piccadilly.
Writing.
Green Street, Piccadilly. Or am I thinking of the Stragglers? I've a club list upstairs. I'll go and look at it.
Humming an air, he shuts up the telegraph form in the blotting book and rises, still with his back to Peggy.
I feel so happy.
He goes out. Peggy advances to the blotting book, carrying some luggage labels.
Miss Dyott has sent me to address her luggage labels. I am compelled to open that blotting book.
She sits on the chair lately vacated by Queckett, and opens the blotting book mischievously with her forefinger and thumb. Seeing the telegraph form,
Ah!
Reading it greedily with exclamations.
Oh, dear old boy. Oh, diggings of humble bachelor. Oh, bring 2 or 3 good fellows. Oh.
Sticking the telegraph form prominently against the stationery cabinet, facing her, and addressing a luggage label.
Miss Dyott, passenger to Hereford.
Queckett, re-entering gaily.
It is in Green Street, Piccadilly.
He sees Peggy and stands perplexed, twisting his little mustache. Peggy, writing solemnly.
Miss Dyott, passenger to Hereford.
Queckett, coughing anxiously.
I fancy I've left an 80-ton gun. I think I've mislaid a...
Without looking up, Peggy readjusts the telegraph form against the cabinet.
Oh, that's it.
He makes 1 or 2 fidgety attempts to take it, when Peggy rises with it in her hand. She reads it silently, forming the words with her lips.
Oh, you vexing girl! What do you think of doing about it?
She commences to fold the form very neatly.
You know I shan't send it. I never meant to send it. I say I shall not send it.
Nervously holding out his hand.
Shall I?
Peggy doubles up the form into another fold without speaking.
You are a vexing girl.
Miss Dyott, calling outside.
Miss Hesslerigge.
Peggy quietly slips the telegraph form into her pocket.
Oh, you won't tell my wife. You will not dare to tell my wife. Will you?
Miss Dyott, calling again.
Miss Hesslerigge.
Queckett, in agony.
Oh!
Between his teeth.
Do you know any bad language?
I went to the Lord Mayor's show once. I heard a little.
Then I regret to say I use it to you, Miss Hesslerigge. I use it to you.
Miss Dyott enters, carrying Queckett's hat, gloves, and overcoat.
You can address the labels in another room, Miss Hesslerigge, please.
Queckett, to himself.
Will she tell?
Peggy, to herself.
He is in our power.
Peggy goes out. Miss Dyott, putting the hat on Queckett's head.
You look sickly, my Vere.
I shall be better after my stroll, Caroline.
A knock and ring are heard. Miss Dyott, assisting Queckett with his overcoat.
As you have some solitary evenings before you, you may lay in a few cigars, Vere, darling.
Thank you, Carrie.
Miss Dyott, helping him to put on his gloves like a child.
But for the sake of our depressed native industries, I beg that you will order those of purely British origin and manufacture.
Tyler enters, carrying a large common black tea-tray upon which is a solitary visiting card.
Where's the salver, you bad boy?
Tyler, pointing to Queckett sullenly.
He slopped his chocolate over it.
Miss Dyott, taking the card.
Admiral and Mrs. Rankling. Dinah's parents. I must see them.
Queckett, hastily turning up his collar to conceal his face.
No, no! They know me! They're old friends of my family's.
Tyler shows in Admiral and Mrs. Rankling. Mrs. Rankling is a thin, weak-looking, faded lady, with a pale face and anxious eyes. She is dressed in too many colors, and nothing seems to fit very well. Admiral Rankling is a stout, fine old gentleman, with short, crisp grey hair and fierce black eyebrows. He appears to be suffering inwardly from intense anger.
My dear Mrs. Rankling.
The ladies shake hands. Tyler goes out. Mrs. Rankling, pointing to Rankling.
This is Admiral Rankling.
Miss Dyott bows ceremoniously. Rankling returns a slight bow and glares at her. Miss Dyott to Mrs. Rankling.
Pray sit by the fire.
As the ladies move to the fire, Queckett, who has been watching his opportunity, creeps round at the back and goes out. Mrs. Rankling, warming her feet at the fire.
The Admiral has called upon you, Miss Dyott, with reference to our child, Dinah.
Rankling, with a smothered exclamation of rage, sits on the sofa.
Whom we find the charming daughter of charming parents.
Rankling gives her a fierce look, which frightens Miss Dyott, who is most anxious to conciliate the Admiral.
Dinah's obstinacy is a very serious shock to the Admiral, who is naturally unused to insubordination.
Naturally.
Rankling glares at her again. She puts her hand to her heart.
The Admiral has been stationed with his ship at Malta for a long period. In fact, the Admiral has not brightened our home for over 4 years.
How more than delightful to have him with you again.
Rankling gives Miss Dyott a fearful look. She clutches her chair.
The Admiral has one of those fine English tempers, generous but impetuous. You may guess the sad impression Dinah's ingratitude has produced upon him. It is an open secret that the Admiral made 3 wills yesterday, and read King Lear's curse after supper in place of thanksgiving.
Rankling, sharply.
Emma!
Mrs. Rankling, starting.
Yes, Archibald?
Leave the fire. You'll be chilled when we go. Come over here.
Yes, Archibald.
Crossing the room in a flutter, and sitting beside Rankling, who makes insufficient room for her.
Thank you, Archibald. I have been sitting up with the Admiral all night, and it is owing to my entreaties that he has consented to give Dinah one last chance of reconciliation.
Rankling, who has been eyeing her.
Emma!
Yes, Archibald?
Your bonnet's on one side again.
Mrs. Rankling, adjusting it.
Thank you, Archibald. We leave town for the holidays tomorrow. It rests with Dinah whether she spends Christmas in her papa's society or not.
Don't twitch your fingers, Emma! Don't twitch your fingers!
Mrs. Rankling, nervously.
It's a habit, Archibald.
It's a very bad one.
All we require is that Dinah should personally assure us that she has banished every thought of the foolish young gentleman she met at Mrs. St. Dunstan's.
Miss Dyott, rising and ringing the bell.
If I am any student of the passing fancies of a young girl's mind—
Speak louder, madam. Your voice doesn't travel.
Miss Dyott, nervously, with a gulp.
If I am any student of the passing fancies—
Rankling puts his hand to his ear.
Oh, don't make me so nervous.
Jane enters, looking untidy, her sleeves turned up, and wiping her hands upon her apron. Miss Dyott, shocked.
Where is the manservant?
On errand, ma'am.
Ask Miss Dinah Rankling to be good enough to step downstairs.
Jane goes out. Rankling rises, with Mrs. Rankling clinging to his arm.
You will be calm, Archibald. You will be moderate in tone. Oh, dear, poor Dinah.
Stop that fidgety cough, Emma.
Stalking about the room, his wife following him.
Even love matches are sometimes very happy. Our was a love match, Archibald.
Be quiet. We're exceptions.
Pacing up to the door just as it opens, and Peggy presents herself. Directly Rankling sees Peggy, he catches her by the shoulders and gives her a good shaking.
Admiral!
Archibald!
Peggy, being shaken, Rankling, panting, and releasing Peggy.
You good-for-nothing girl! Do you know you've upset your mother?
Archibald, that isn't Dinah.
That is another young lady.
Rankling, aghast.
What? Not? Who? Who has led me into this unpardonable error of judgment?
Mrs. Rankling, to Peggy, who was rubbing her shoulder and looking vindictively at Rankling.
Oh, my dear young lady, pray think of this only as an amusing mistake. The Admiral has been away for more than 4 years. Dinah was but a child when he last saw her. Oh, dear me.
Be quiet, Emma. You'll make a scene.
Miss Dyott, to Peggy.
Where is Miss Rankling?
Miss Rankling presents her compliments to Miss Dyott, and her love to her papa and mamma, and as her mind is quite made up, she would rather not cause distress by granting an interview.
Rankling sinks into a chair.
Archibald!
Miss Dyott, to Peggy.
The port wine.
Peggy advances with the cake and wine. Mrs. Rankling, kneeling, to Rankling.
Archibald, be yourself. Remember, you have to respond for the Navy at a banquet tonight. Think of your reputation as a genial after-dinner speaker.
Rankling, rising with forced calmness.
Thank you, Emma.
To Miss Dyott.
Madam, my daughter is in your charge till you receive instructions from my solicitor.
Glaring at Peggy.
A short written apology will be sent to this young lady in the course of the afternoon.
To his wife.
Emma, your hair's rough. Come home.
He gives Mrs. Rankling his arm. They go out. Miss Dyott sinks, exhausted, on sofa. Peggy offers her a glass of wine.
Oh, my goodness.
Declining the wine.
No, no, not that. It has been decanted since midsummer.
Queckett, his coat collar turned up, appears at the door, looking back over his shoulder.
What's the matter with the Ranklings?
Seeing Miss Dyott and Peggy.
Oh, has that vexing girl told Caroline?
The clock strikes 2. Miss Dyott, to herself.
2 o'clock. I must remove to Henrietta Street.
Seeing Queckett.
My darling.
My love.
To himself.
All right.
I am going to prepare for my journey. The train leaves Paddington at 3.
As Miss Dyott goes toward the centre door, Jane enters, carrying about 20 boxes of cigars, which she deposits on the floor, and then goes out.
What is this?
My cigars, Carrie. Brought 'em with me in a cab.
Oh.
Reading the label on one of the boxes.
Poor Carolina? Ah, poor Caroline.
She goes out. Directly she is gone, Peggy and Queckett, by a simultaneous movement, rush to the 2 doors and close them.
Now, Miss Hesslerigge.
Sir.
We will come to a distinct understanding.
If you please.
In the first place, you will return me my telegram.
I can't.
You mean you won't?
No, I can't.
Why not?
I have just sent it to the telegraph office by Tyler.
Dispatched it?
Dispatched it. It was 1 and 4pence.
Oh, you vexing girl. Mr. Mallory will be here tonight.
Yes, and we'll bring 2 or 3 good fellows. At least we hope so.
Hope so?
Peggy, standing over him with her arms folded.
Listen, Mr. Vere Queckett.
He starts.
We ladies are going to give a little party tonight to celebrate a serious event in the life of one of us. We have invited only 1 young gentleman. Your friends will be welcome.
Oh?
Without us, your party must fail, for we command the servants. Let it be a compact. Your soirée shall be our soirée, and our soirée your soirée.
And if I indignantly decline?
Peggy, solemnly.
Consider, Mr. Queckett. Your Christmas holidays are to be passed with us. Think in which direction your comfort and freedom lie, in friendship or in enmity. Even now, Ermyntrude Johnson is trimming the holly with one of your razors.
But what explanation could I give Mr. Mallory of your presence here?
Every detail has been considered. You are a bachelor uncle.
Uncle?
We are your 4 nieces.
Queckett looks up, is tickled by the idea.
I don't see why that shouldn't be rather jolly.
Peggy, roguishly.
Do you consent?
Can't help myself, can I?
Peggy, delighted.
That you can't.
Let's be friends, then, shall we? Have you girls got any money?
No. Have you?
No. That is, all mine's invested.
Miss Dyott, outside.
Tyler, fetch a cab.
Queckett makes a bolt from the room, and Peggy vigorously rearranges the furniture as Miss Dyott enters, dressed as if for a journey, and carrying her umbrella and handbag again.
Where is my husband?
Peggy, looking about her.
Your handbag, Miss Dyott?
Queckett re-enters.
Still in your overcoat, dear?
Of course, Carrie. I'll drive with you to Paddington.
No. I insist on going alone.
Queckett, taking off his coat with alacrity.
Oh, Carrie, I am disappointed.
Dinah, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude come through the hall into the room and form a group. Jane enters the hall. Tyler joins her there.
Miss Hesslerigge, young ladies, I regret to say I am compelled to quit Volumnia House for a time. The length of my absence depends upon how long it runs.
Correcting herself in confusion.
Upon how long it runs to employ a colloquialism of the vulgar. But I depart with a light heart, because I leave my husband in authority. He will find a trusty lieutenant in Miss Hesslerigge. Ladies, to abandon for the moment our mother tongue, je vous embrasse de tout mon cœur. Soyez sages.
Au revoir, Mademoiselle Dyott. Bon voyage, Mademoiselle Dyott.
Peggy joins the girls and they talk earnestly. A cabman is seen carrying out the boxes from the hall, assisted by Tyler. Miss Dyott produces some paper packets of money from her handbag. Miss Dyott, as she gives the packets to Queckett.
Vere, The house agent will apply for the rent. There it is. Our fire insurance expired yesterday. Post the premium to the Eagle office at once. Jane's wages are due next week. Deduct for the broken water bottle. When you need exercise, dear one, tidy up the backyard, the recreation ground. A charwoman assists Jane on Fridays, 3/4 of a day, and leaves before her tea. Goodbye, Vere.
The cabs are waiting, ma'am.
Miss Dyott takes Queckett's arm.
Goodbye, Miss Dyott.
Goodbye, Miss Dyott.
Goodbye, Miss Dyott.
Goodbye, Miss Dyott.
Miss Dyott and Queckett go out through the hall. Peggy, Ermyntrude, and Gwendoline run over to the windows and look out. Dinah sits apart, thinking.
There they are.
Miss Dyott's in the cab.
She's off.
Hurrah!
Hurrah! Hurrah!
Queckett returns. The girls surround him demonstratively.
Dinah, young ladies.
Pointing to Queckett.
Uncle Vere.
Uncle Vere! Uncle Vere!
Queckett tries to maintain his dignity and pushes the girls from him. Tyler, with Jane, is seen letting off a squib in the hall. End of the first act. Act 2 of The Schoolmistress by Arthur Wing Pinero. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The second act. The party. The scene is a plain-looking schoolroom of Miss Dyott's. Outside the two windows runs a narrow balcony, and beyond are seen the upper stories and roofs of the opposite houses. There are two doors facing each other. The room is decorated for the occasion with holly and evergreen, and a table is laid with supper. Peggy is standing on a chair with a large hammer in her hand, nailing up holly. Peggy, surveying her work.
There. I'm sure Miss Dyott wouldn't recognize the dull old classrooms.
Descending.
I think it's time I dressed.
Queckett enters slowly. He is in a perfectly fitting evening dress, with a flower in his buttonhole, but looks much depressed. He and Peggy regard each other for a moment silently.
Oh, I'm so glad you're ready early. How good it makes one feel, giving pleasure to others, doesn't it? Aren't you well?
Yes. No. I deeply regret plunging into the vortex of these festivities.
Oh, I suppose you're nervous in society.
Queckett, drawing himself up.
Nervous in society, Miss Hesslerigge?
What do you think of the decorations? Artistic, aren't they?
A treat at a Sunday school.
Then you shouldn't have locked up the rooms downstairs.
I daren't allow the neighbours to see the house lighted up downstairs. I wish I could have locked up all you vexing girls.
That's not the spirit to give a party in.
Contemplating the table.
How many do you think your friend, Mr. Mallory, will bring?
I don't think Mr. Mallory will find his way here at all. Have you observed the fog?
Is it foggy?
You can't see your hand before you outside. I sincerely hope my friend will not come.
There's hospitality. Ours will.
Who is your friend?
Mr. Paulover.
And who the devil is...
I don't think that's the language for a party, Mr. Queckett.
I beg your pardon. Who is Paulover?
Tyler enters with a bill in his hand, with his hair stiffly brushed and greased, and wearing an expression of intense wonderment.
What's this?
A beautiful large lobster salad is come, sir.
Queckett, looking at Peggy.
I haven't ordered a lobster salad.
In an undertone.
You know, this is getting extremely vexing.
He takes from his pocket the packets of money previously given to him by Miss Dyott.
I've already paid a bill for some oysters and a pâté de foie gras. Jane's wages went for that.
Opening a packet.
Now here's a salad. That breaks into next week's household expenses.
Handing the money to Tyler, who goes out.
We're only girls, you know, and you seem to forget you're our uncle.
Queckett, irritably.
I am not your uncle.
Tonight you are, but you needn't be our uncle tomorrow.
Somebody will have to be my uncle tomorrow. Then I understand there's a lark pudding ordered for 9:30. I can't allow the account to be sent in to
Auntie?
Well, to Auntie. Who pays for the lark pudding?
You couldn't well ask girls to do it. Besides, it's your party.
It is not my party, and it is your lark pudding.
It may be our lark, but it's your pudding.
Tyler enters, still much astonished, and with another bill. Queckett, taking the bill.
What's that?
Such a lot of champagne's come, sir.
Champagne? Who ordered that? I didn't.
Hush! I did.
Then it is your party.
Part of the party is my party.
Opening another packet.
I've broken into the rent.
He hands Tyler the bill and some money, pocketing the remainder. Tyler goes out.
The fire insurance alone remains intact.
Opening the last packet.
Postal orders for 30 shillings. I'll dispatch that at any rate.
He sits at the writing table and begins to write. Peggy hammers up the last piece of holly as Queckett tries to write.
Oh, you vexing girl!
Beg pardon, this is the last blow.
She gives another knock as Jane enters, carrying a large ornamental wedding cake. Jane is in a black gown and smart cap and apron. Her eyes are wide open with pleasure and astonishment. Jane deposits the cake upon the writing table before Queckett.
Excuse me, sir. The confectioner's just brought the thanks.
What's that? That isn't the lark pudding.
Oh, Lord, no, sir.
She goes out.
Oh, that's the wedding cake.
Oh, come, it isn't my wedding cake.
Oh, don't, you funny man. No, it's Mr. Paulover's.
Who the devil?
Hush.
Let's settle one thing at a time. Who is Paulover?
Dear Dinah's husband.
Dear Dinah.
Your niece, Dinah Rankling.
Married?
Secretly, to Mr. Paulover.
Queckett puts his hand to his brow.
Oh, that's old Paulover, is it?
Young Paulover. They were married really 3 weeks ago, but without any breakfast. I don't mean a bacon breakfast. I mean a proper breakfast. But we girls think they ought to have a wedding cake and everything complete to start them in life together. And that's why you're giving this party, you know.
Now understand me, I will not be dragged into such a conspiracy.
But you're in it.
The Ranklings are acquaintances of mine, almost relatives. Admiral Rankling's cousin married the sister of the man who bought my brother's horses.
Rubbing his hands together.
I wash my hands of all you vexing girls.
Don't fret about it, please. Nothing can ever make Mrs. Paulover Miss Rankling again. I'll go and dress while you finish your letter.
Ooh.
He resumes writing at the table. Peggy, going to the door.
The girls will be here directly. Be nice, won't you?
She goes out. Jane enters with tarts and confectionery on dishes which she places on the table before Queckett.
Excuse me, sir.
Queckett rises with his letter and the inkstand, and goes impatiently over to the other side of the room, where he continues writing on top of the piano.
They won't let me write to the insurance office.
Tyler enters with some boxes of bonbons. The writing table being crowded, Jane waves him over to the piano and goes out. Tyler puts the bonbons on the top of the piano before Queckett, who snatches up his letter and the inkstand again, and goes to the center table.
I will write to the insurance office.
Tyler goes out as Jane re-enters. Jane, presenting a bill.
The pastry cook's bill, sir.
Great Scott!
Diving his hand into his pocket, bringing out some loose money and giving it to Jane.
There!
Jane goes out.
I've written to the insurance office.
Sealing the letter.
My mind's easy. Done my duty to poor Caroline.
He puts the letter in his breast pocket as Tyler enters. Tyler, more astonished than ever, announcing,
Miss Gwendoline Hawkins.
Gwendoline enters, dressed in a simple and pretty party dress. Tyler goes out. Gwendoline, bashfully, seeing nobody but Queckett.
Oh, I'm first. I shall come back again.
She is going.
Come in, come in. How do you do?
Gwendoline advances. Queckett shakes hands with her.
Delighted to see you. So glad you've come. Won't you sit down?
To himself with satisfaction.
Illustrations of deportment and the restrictions of society. Vere Queckett. Carrie would be delighted.
Tyler re-enters, still more astonished.
Miss Ermyntrude Johnson and Mrs. Reginald Paulover.
This is a little too vexing.
Ermyntrude and Dinah enter, both prettily dressed, Dinah in white. Tyler goes out.
How do you do? So glad you've come. Won't you sit down?
We're very well, thank you.
Awfully well.
They sit, the three girls in a row, Dinah in the centre, Gwendoline and Ermyntrude taking her hands. Queckett, to himself.
Instructions in polite conversation.
Brusquely to Dinah.
How is Paulover?
I think he's very well, thank you.
Queckett, to himself.
Carrie would be pleased.
To the girls.
I suppose you young ladies distinctly understand that I occupy a painfully false position this evening.
I am sure it is very, very kind of you to give this party.
Queckett, to himself.
Well, now, that's exceedingly appropriate, the way in which that is put. Carrie really does do her duty to the parents of these girls.
Peggy says you insist on our calling you uncle.
Does she?
To himself.
Peggy is the one I've turned against.
We think you'll be an awfully jolly uncle.
Queckett, pleased.
Thank you. Thank you.
To himself.
I begin to like helping Carrie with the pupils.
Peggy enters. She is quaintly but untidily dressed in poor, much worn, and old-fashioned finery. In her hand she carries a pair of soiled, long white gloves.
Hello.
Without speaking a word, Peggy hurries across the room and goes out.
What is the matter with that vexing girl now?
Peggy re-enters with Tyler, pushing him forward. Tyler, announcing,
Miss Margaret Hesslerigge.
Peggy advances to Queckett, holding out her hand.
How do you do?
Queckett, savagely.
How do you do? Delighted to see you. For goodness sake, sit down.
He turns away to the fire. The three girls rise to greet Peggy. Dinah, anxiously.
I don't think it's nearly 9:30 yet.
Peggy, rather proudly, produces a huge old-fashioned watch.
20 to 10.
I thought it was.
Dinah, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude run to one window, pull aside the blind, and look out. Peggy goes to the other window, pulls up the blind, and opens the window.
What are you doing?
I can just see him under his lamp-post.
The fog will hurt him.
Hush! I told him we'd whistle twice.
Do it!
Girls, it's ominous. My whistle has left me.
To Queckett, taking his arm.
Come and whistle.
No! No!
Peggy, leading Queckett to the open window.
Whistle, or you'll catch cold.
Queckett whistles twice, desperately. Then returns to the fireplace, annoyed.
He's heard it.
She closes the window and pulls down the blind.
Now, listen.
To Gwendoline and Ermyntrude.
You two girls, count 5.
1.
2.
Oh, how slowly you count.
3.
4.
Dinah, clasping her hands.
5.
There is a distant ring at the bell. With a little cry, Dinah runs out. Peggy begins to put her gloves on. Ermyntrude and Gwendolen go to the door, open it, and listen. Peggy to Queckett.
Thank you for whistling. I shall never make a whistling woman, shall I?
A wide knowledge of humanity, in its highest and lowest grades, Miss Hesslerigge, does not enable me even to conjecture the possibilities of your future.
No compliments, please. Thank you.
She holds out her gloved hand for him to button the glove. After a look of astonishment, he complies.
You know my idea about my future, don't you?
No.
That I only need one essential to become a duchess.
What is that?
A duke.
They're coming upstairs.
Peggy to Queckett.
Now you'll see Mr. Paulover. Oh, I do hope he'll take to you.
Well, really, I'm...
He walks angrily away as Dinah enters with Reginald Paulover, a good-looking lad, rather sheepish when in repose, but fiery and demonstrative when out of temper. He is in evening dress, overcoat and muffler, and wears a respirator, which he removes on entering. Dinah, introducing the three girls.
Reggie, these are my 3 dear friends, Miss Hawkins, Miss Johnson,
Reginald, bowing.
Awfully pleased to meet you.
and Miss Hesslerigge.
Peggy advances and shakes hands with Reginald.
Thank you very much for being so kind to my wife.
Ermyntrude to Gwendolen, disappointed.
No whiskers or mustache? Oh.
Peggy to Reginald.
Had you been waiting long?
10 minutes. I was jolly glad to hear my wife's dear little whistle. I should know it from 1,000.
Dinah, dear, make Mr. Paulover and Mr. Queckett known to each other.
Queckett comes forward with a disagreeable look. Reginald glares at him. Dinah, timidly.
Reggie, dear, this is Mr. Queckett.
Queckett bows stiffly. Reginald nods angrily. Reginald to Dinah.
Dinah, what is a man doing here? You know I can't bear you to talk to a man.
Oh, Reggie, why are you always so jealous?
Mr. Queckett is giving the party.
What party?
Your wedding party.
Is he?
To Queckett, angrily.
I'm much obliged to you, Mr. Queckett.
Peggy, pacifying Reginald.
Mr. Queckett is so nice. He calls himself Dinah's uncle.
Does he? Then it's a liberty. That's all I can say.
Do you know you're in my house, sir?
I'm not in your house, sir. Come away, Dinah.
Hush! Mr. Queckett is Miss Dyott's.
Be quiet. Mind your own business.
Reginald to Queckett.
At any rate, it's my business, sir.
I'm afraid you're a cub, sir.
What?
Oh, Reggie, don't!
A loud knock and ring are heard. Peggy to Queckett.
Your friend.
Whose friend?
My friend.
Another man, I suppose. Dinah.
Ladies, do explain everything to Mr. Paulover.
Dinah seizes Reginald's arm. Gwendolen and Ermyntrude gather round them, Reginald protesting. Reginald, handing his card as he passes Queckett.
My card, sir.
Pooh! Sir.
Throwing the card in the fire, the three girls hurry Reginald out of the room. Peggy to Queckett.
I'm so sorry. He hasn't taken to you.
He needn't trouble himself. Upon my soul, this is going to be a nice party.
Tyler enters.
3 gentlemen, sir. I was to say the name of Mallory.
3 gentlemen.
Peggy, delighted, to Queckett.
Oh, he's brought some good fellows.
Reckoning on her fingers.
That's 1 for Ermyntrude, and 1 for me, and 1 for...
Be quiet.
To Tyler.
I'll come down.
Mallory, outside.
Queckett.
Yes, Jack.
Jack Mallory enters. He is a good-looking, jovial fellow of about 36, with a bronzed face. He is in evening dress and overcoat. Tyler goes out. Mallory, shaking hands heartily with Queckett.
Ah, Queckett, dear old chap. Well, I'm glad to see you.
How are you, Jack?
Quaint diggings you have up here. A hanging committee have shied you, though, haven't they?
Seeing Peggy.
I beg your pardon.
Queckett, confused.
Oh, yes. I didn't mention it. I have my nieces spending Christmas with me.
Mallory, bowing to Peggy.
Delighted.
To Queckett.
Did you say niece or nieces?
Nieces.
Softly to Peggy, quickly.
How many? I forget.
3.
3.
3, not counting me.
3, not counting me. I mean 3, not counting that vexing girl, Peggy. Margaret.
Mallory, bowing.
It would be impossible not to count Miss Margaret.
Oh.
Queckett assists Mallory to take off his overcoat, first darting an angry look at Peggy. Peggy, to herself.
I shall give Gwendoline and Ermyntrude the 2 that are downstairs.
You're not alone, are you, Jack?
No, they're coming up.
Queckett, grimly.
Are they?
The old gentleman takes his time with the stairs.
Queckett, with forced ease.
Poor old gentleman. Who the deuce...
The fact is, there's been a big Navy dinner tonight in the Whitehall rooms. The enthusiasm became rather forced. Britannia rules the waves and all that sort of thing. So I gladly thought of finishing up with you. I've brought my nephew. Hello, here he is.
Mr. Saunders enters. He is a pretty boy, almost a child, in the uniform of a naval cadet.
My nephew, Horatio Nelson Drake Saunders, of the Training Ship Dexterous.
Saunders, with the airs of a little man.
How do you do? Awfully pleased to come here.
Glad to see you, Mr. Saunders.
Mallory, laughing, to Saunders.
I say, you shouldn't have left the old gentleman.
He sent me up to count how many more stairs there were.
Queckett, impatiently.
Jack, I don't put the question on theological grounds, but who is the old gentleman?
Oh, I beg your pardon, and his. We persuaded an old acquaintance of yours to join us, Admiral Rankling.
What?
Do you mind?
Mind?
Rankling, outside.
Mr. Saunders!
Here, sir.
Peggy makes a bolt out of the room. Saunders goes to the door and returns with Rankling. Rankling is in evening dress, overcoat and muffler, and is much out of breath.
Ah, Mr. Queckett, how do you do? We haven't met anywhere lately. I've been away, you know.
I am delighted to renew our acquaintance, Admiral Rankling.
Mr. Mallory suggested that we should smoke our last cigar at your lodgings. I can't stay, for I've a long way to drive home. At least I suppose I have, for I really don't know quite where we are. What quarter of London have you brought me to, Mr. Mallory? Oh, thank ye.
He turns to Saunders, who is offering to remove his overcoat. The door is slightly opened, and the heads of all the girls are seen. Queckett, hastily, to Mallory.
He doesn't know where he is.
The fog's as thick as a board outside.
He isn't aware he lives 150 yards off.
No. Does he?
Hush, don't tell him. Jack, don't tell him. I'll explain why by and by.
Queckett turns to assist Saunders, who, mounted on a chair, is struggling ineffectually to relieve Rankling of his overcoat.
Thank ye. Bits of boys, bits of boys.
Mallory, to himself.
There's a wild look about poor Queckett I don't like. It's his lonely bachelor life, I suppose. Curious place, too. He used to be such a swell in the Albany.
Looking about him, the door shuts and the heads disappear. Rankling, to Queckett.
Thank ye. Oof!
Rankling sits down, and Mallory talks to him. Saunders has seated himself on the sofa, and is dozing off, quite tired out.
Ooh, what a party!
The door opens, and Peggy's head appears. Peggy, hurriedly, to Queckett.
Who'd have thought of this?
Might be worse. He doesn't recognize the house he is in.
Doesn't he?
Get rid of his daughter and that horrid Paulover.
Certainly not. I know he won't recognize his daughter.
Won't recognize his own daughter? You'll drive me mad.
They continue to talk in undertones. Saunders is now fast asleep. Rankling, to Mallory.
No, I don't like the look of poor Queckett.
He seems altered.
Altered? He glares like the devil. He's not married, is he?
No.
Then what does he mean by it? Queer rooms, too.
Catching sight of the wedding cake on the table.
Lord, look there!
Mallory, looking at the cake.
Hello.
Why, it's like the thing we had at my wedding breakfast. Oh, I should go.
No. The fact is, poor old Queckett has some nieces staying with him.
Nieces?
4 of 'em. I've seen one, and I fancy by the look of her mischievous little face that they're too much for him.
Peggy, to Queckett.
Leave everything to me. Don't spoil the party, Uncle.
Dash the party!
Peggy retiring hastily, the door bangs, at which Rankling and Mallory look round.
Oh, Queckett, where are your nieces?
Nieces? Nieces? Oh, they retire at 8 o'clock. Early to bed, early to rise.
Gwendoline and Ermyntrude enter, visibly pushed on by Peggy. Rankling, rising.
This doesn't look like early to bed.
Queckett, weakly.
Just got up, I suppose. Gwendoline, Ermyntrude, my dears, Admiral Rankling, Mr. Mallory.
Looking about for Saunders.
Mr. Saunders is asleep.
Ermyntrude and Gwendoline advance to Rankling. Rankling, to the girls.
How do you do? And whose daughters are you?
Gwendoline and Ermyntrude look frightened and shake their heads.
Ooh, these are my sister Isabel's girls.
Why, all your sister Isabel's children were boys.
Were boys, yes.
Rankling, irritably.
Are boys, sir?
Are men now. I should have said these are my sister Janet's children.
Oh, I've never heard of your sister Janet.
No. Quiet, retiring girl, Janet.
Well then, whom did Janet marry?
Whom didn't Janet marry? I mean, whom did Jane marry? Why, Finch Griffin of the Berkshire Royals.
Dear me, we're going to meet Major Griffin and his wife on Christmas Day at the Trotwells.
Are you?
To Gwendoline and Ermyntrude.
Go away.
Peggy enters.
Oh, this is Margaret. Peggy.
Oh, another of Mrs. Griffin's.
Yes.
Large family.
Rapid. 2 a year.
Rankling, eyeing Peggy.
Why, we've met before today.
Eh? Where?
At a miserable school near my house in Portland Place.
Oh, yes, our holidays began this afternoon.
Why, Queckett, my daughter Dinah and Miss Griffin are schoolfellows.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, sir.
How small the world is.
Do you happen to know anything about that person who keeps that school? What's the woman's name? Miss...
Miss...
Miss Dyott. Oh, yes. Uncle knows her to speak to.
What about her, Queckett?
Queckett, looking vindictively at Peggy.
Rather not hazard an opinion.
He hastily joins Mallory, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude. Rankling, confidentially, to Peggy.
My dear Miss Griffin, did you receive a short but ample apology from me this afternoon, addressed to the young lady who was shaken?
Yes, and oh, I shall always prize it.
No, don't. You haven't bothered your uncle about it, have you, dear?
No, not yet.
I shouldn't, then. I shouldn't. He seems worried enough. Shall I take you and your sisters to see the pantomime?
Yes, please.
Then you'd better give me back that apology.
Oh, no. You'd use it again.
1, 2, 3. Mr. Mallory says you have 4 nieces with you, Mr. Queckett.
But Jack's been dining, you know. I beg your pardon, Jack.
Oh, yes, there is one more. Mrs. Parkinson is here with her husband.
My brother Tankerville's eldest girl.
I've never heard of your brother Tankerville.
No, he's Deputy Inspector of Prisons in British Guiana. Quiet, retiring chap.
I'll go and fetch them.
She runs out. Queckett, to Rankling.
To make a clean breast of it, the girls have been preparing a little festival tonight in honour of Mr. and Mrs... the name Peggy mentioned. My niece was married, very quietly, some weeks ago to a charming young fellow. And these foolish children insist on cutting a wedding cake and all that sort of nonsense. I didn't want to disturb you with their chatter.
You forget, Queckett. You are speaking to a father.
No, I don't, indeed.
Peggy re-enters, followed by Reginald and Dinah.
My cousin and Mr. Parkinson.
How do you...
Staring.
What an extraordinary likeness to my brother Ned.
Taking her hand slowly, still looking at her.
And how do you do?
Dinah, palpitating.
Thank you. I am very well.
Do you know your voice is exceedingly like my sister Rachel's?
Reginald, thrusting himself between Dinah and Rankling.
I am sorry to differ. I think my wife resembles no one but herself.
Rankling, hotly.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Reginald, hotly.
Pray don't.
Rankling, to himself.
That's not a charming young fellow.
Peggy, presenting Mallory to Dinah.
Mr. Mallory.
Mallory, gallantly, to Dinah.
I'm delighted to have the opportunity of congratulating my old friend's niece upon her recent marriage.
Taking her hand.
I think myself especially fortunate in being present on such...
Reginald, thrusting himself between Dinah and Mallory, and giving Dinah his arm.
How do you do, sir?
Mr. Mallory, Mr. Parkinson.
They bow abruptly, glaring at each other. Mallory, to himself.
Is that a charming young fellow?
Dinah expostulates in undertones with Reginald, he answering with violent gestures and glaring at Rankling, who mutters comments on Dinah's resemblance to various members of his family. Peggy endeavours to pacify Mallory, who is evidently annoyed, and altogether there is much hubbub, with signs of general ill-feeling. Queckett, sinking back in his chair.
Oh, what a party!
Jane enters. Jane, quietly, to Queckett.
The pudding is ready, sir. Waiting to be paid.
I'll come to it.
Jane goes out. To Peggy.
Margaret, show Admiral Rankling and Mr. Mallory where the cigarettes are. They may like...
To himself.
Years are going off my life.
He goes out. Peggy, to Mallory.
May I take you to the cigarettes?
Mallory, to Peggy.
You may take me anywhere.
Oh.
To Rankling.
The cigarettes are in the next room, Admiral Rankling.
Rankling, not hearing Peggy, but still eyeing Dinah.
What girl has a look at them as Sister Susan?
Peggy and Mallory go out. Reginald, seeing Rankling is still looking at Dinah, abruptly takes her over to the door, glaring at Rankling as he passes. Reginald, to Dinah, fiercely.
Come away, Dinah.
Dinah, to Reginald, tearfully.
Oh, Reggie, dear Reggie, you are so different when people are not present.
They go out. Rankling watches them through the doorway. Gwendoline has, meanwhile, seated herself beside Saunders, whose head has gradually fallen till it rests upon her shoulder. She is now sitting quite still, looking down upon the boy's face. Ermyntrude, watching them enviously.
Well, considering that Mr. Saunders was introduced to us asleep, I don't think Gwendoline's behaviour is comme il faut.
She bumps gently against Rankling.
Oh!
Rankling, looking at Ermyntrude, rather dazed.
My dear, I am quite glad to see somebody who isn't like any of my relations. Come along.
They go out. Saunders moves dreamily and murmurs.
All right, my dear. I'll come down directly.
He raises his head and kisses Gwendoline, then opens his eyes and looks at her, startled.
Oh, I've been dreaming about my ma. I don't know you, do I?
It doesn't matter, Mr. Saunders. You've had such a good sleep.
She kisses his forehead gently.
Oh, that's just like my ma. Where are the others?
Gwendoline, arranging his curls upon his forehead.
I'll take you to them.
Thank you. What's your name?
Gwendoline.
Gwen's short for that, isn't it?
Rubbing his eyes with his fist, then offering her his arm.
Permit me, Gwen.
They go out. Queckett, his hair disarranged, his appearance generally wild, immediately enters, followed by Jane and Tyler.
I can't help it. I'm in the hands of fate. Arrange the table. I cannot help it.
Tyler and Jane proceed to arrange the table and the seats for supper. Peggy enters, quietly.
It is supper time. Oh, what's the matter, Uncle Vere?
Well, in the first place, there are no oysters.
I've seen them.
I've gone further. I've tasted them.
Bad?
Well, I should describe them as inland oysters. A long time since they had a fortnight at the seaside.
Oh, dear. Then we must fall back on the lark pudding.
You'll injure yourself seriously if you do.
Tell me everything. It has not come small.
It has come ridiculously small.
It was ordered for 8 persons.
Then it is architecturally disproportionate.
Peggy, to herself.
Something must be done.
She runs to the writing table and begins to write rapidly on 3 half-sheets of paper, folding each into a 3-cornered note as she finishes it.
The girls must be warned.
Writing.
For goodness sake, don't taste the pudding. Poor girls, what an end to a happy day.
Queckett, to himself.
Oh, if the members of my family could see me at this moment. I, whose suppers in the Albany were at one time a proverb. Oh, Caroline, even you little know the sacrifice I have made for you.
Peggy, to Queckett, handing him the notes.
Quick, please, quick. Give them these notes.
Queckett, taking the notes.
What for?
Oh, don't ask. You will see the result.
But you mustn't write to people you...
Go away!
He hurries out. Peggy wipes her eyes.
Oh, don't be upset, miss.
No. I won't. But I am only a girl, and the responsibility is very great for such young shoulders.
There is a murmur of voices outside. Jane and Tyler go out as Rankling enters with Ermyntrude, followed by Reggie with Dinah. Reginald is endeavoring to keep her away from Mallory, who comes after them. Saunders and Gwendoline follow next, and Queckett brings up the rear. There is much talking as Queckett indicates the seats they are to occupy. Peggy, quietly, to Queckett.
Did you give the girls the notes?
Queckett, surprised.
No.
Ah, never mind. I'll whisper to them now.
She whispers hurriedly to Dinah, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude. Queckett, to himself.
I didn't understand they were for the girls.
He goes to the head of the table as Rankling, Mallory, and Saunders come suddenly together, each carrying a note. Rankling, to Mallory.
Mallory, we were right. There is some horrible mystery about Queckett.
Looking to see they are not observed.
I've had an anonymous warning. For heaven's sake, don't touch the pudding.
I know.
Tell the boy.
Mallory, to Saunders.
I say, don't you say yes to pudding?
I know. Tell the old gentleman.
Mallory, to Saunders.
He knows.
To Rankling.
He knows.
With a simultaneous gesture, they pocket the notes and go to find their seats at table. They all sit. The lobster salad and the pâté have been placed by Tyler at the end of the table. Tyler now enters, carrying 9 large plates which he places before Queckett. Queckett, with assumed composure and good spirits.
There is a spontaneity about our jolly little supper which will perhaps atone for any absence of elaboration.
Don't name it, Mr. Queckett.
Just as it should be, my dear fellow.
Tyler goes out.
The language of the heart is simplicity. Our little supper is from the heart.
Ah, I shall never forget your little suppers in the Albany. Where were they from?
Gunter's, Jack.
With a groan.
Oh.
Jane, at the door, hands to Tyler a very small pudding in a silver basin, which he places before Queckett. Rankling, Mallory, and Saunders, to themselves.
The pudding!
They exhibit great eagerness to get a view of the pudding. Peggy, behind Mallory's back.
Oh, how shameful it looks.
Queckett, faltering.
Here is a homely little dish, which has fascinations for many, though I never touch it myself. I never touch it myself.
Rankling, Mallory, and Saunders exchange significant looks.
A pudding made of larks.
He glances round. All look down. There is deep silence.
A pudding made of larks.
To Dinah.
My dear, a very little.
No, thank you, Uncle.
Perhaps you're right. Gwendoline, a suggestion?
No, thank you, Uncle.
Queckett, to Peggy.
Margaret, I know what your digestion is. I won't tempt you.
To Ermyntrude.
Ermyntrude, the least in the world.
No, thank you, Uncle.
Queckett, to himself.
Ah, how lucky.
Peggy, to herself.
Brave girls. I was afraid they'd falter.
Queckett, heartily.
Now then, Admiral Rankling.
No, thank ye.
No pudding.
I haven't long dined, thank you, Queckett.
Queckett, to Reginald, coldly.
May I?
Reginald, distantly.
I never ate suppers, thank you.
Queckett, to Saunders.
My dear Mr. Saunders.
No, Mr. Queckett. No, thank you.
Queckett, getting desperate, to Mallory.
Jack, a lark?
No. Thanks, old fellow.
Well,
Throwing down his knife and spoon and leaning back in his chair. To Tyler.
Take it away.
Tyler removes the pudding. They all watch it going. Tyler, handing it to Jane.
Keep it warm, Jane.
Jack, a lobster salad and a small pâté de foie gras are at your end of the table.
Mallory, looking round.
May I?
There is a general reply of "No, thank you," expressed in symbols by the ladies. Peggy, to herself.
Poor girls, what sacrifices they make for these men.
Mallory, with a plate in his hand.
May I?
Rankling, Saunders, and Reginald, together.
No,
thank you.
Queckett, to himself.
What a supper party. Tyler, the champagne.
Tyler fetches a bottle of champagne and proceeds to open it. Rankling, behind Ermyntrude and Peggy, to Mallory.
If we see the cork drawn, shall we risk it?
Risk it.
Risk it.
Reginald has risen from the table and is seen tapping Saunders upon the shoulder and speaking to him rapidly and excitedly.
No, I have not.
Talking together, Reginald and Saunders go out hurriedly.
What's the matter with that charming young fellow now?
To the table.
Excuse me.
He follows them out. Dinah, tearfully, to Gwendoline.
Reginald's jealousy gets worse and worse. I am sure it will cloud our future.
Gwendoline, to Dinah.
Mr. Saunders wasn't looking at you, I am positive. The poor little fellow was stroking my hand.
Mallory returns with Saunders and Reginald, who both look excited, and their hair is disarrayed. Reginald, to Mallory and Saunders.
I beg your pardon. I may have been mistaken. I imagined that Mrs. Saunders was regarding my wife in a way which overstepped the borders of ordinary admiration.
They hastily shake hands all around and hurry back to their seats. Tyler has poured out the champagne and now departs. Admiral Rankling rises. Queckett taps the table for silence.
Please. Please.
Ahem.
Mallory, to himself.
I thought the old gentleman wouldn't resist the temptation.
My dear Mr. Queckett, it would ill become an old man, himself the father of a daughter nearly, if not quite, of the age of the young lady opposite me, to lose an opportunity of saying a few words on the pleasant, the extremely pleasant condition of the British naval forces.
Mallory, to himself.
I knew that would happen.
Pardon me, I've been speaking on other subjects tonight. I should say, the extremely pleasant occasion which brings us together.
Certainly, my dear Rankling. How nice of you.
Not only am I the commander, the father, of a ship, of a daughter whom it is my ambition to see happily wedded to the man of her choice.
Hear, hear.
Queckett, in an undertone, glaring at her.
You vexing girl.
But I am also the husband of a heavily plated cruiser. No, of a dear lady to whose affection and society I owe the greatest happiness of my life.
Peggy, to herself.
How different some gentlemen are when their wives are not present.
If I have the regret of knowing that my acquaintance with Mrs.
Parkinson.
Thank you, I know, Parkinson, has begun only tonight, I have also the pleasure of inaugurating a friendship with that delightful young lady, which on my side should be little less than paternal.
Oh, gracious.
I cannot sit down?
Mallory, wearily.
Why not?
I will not sit down without adding a word of congratulations to Mr.
Parkinson.
Thank you, I know, Parkinson. The young gentleman whose ingenious construction and sea-going qualities...
No.
Whose amiability and genial demeanour have so favourably impressed us. As an old married man, I welcome this recruit to the service.
Hear, hear.
It is one of hardship and danger, of stiff breezes and dismal night watches. But it is because Englishmen never know when they are beaten.
No.
Yes, sir, it is because Englishmen never know when they are beaten that they occasionally find conjugal happiness. I ask you all to drink to the Navy, to Mr. and Mrs. Thank you, I know, Jenkinson.
All except Dinah and Reginald rise and drink the toast, Mr. and Mrs. Parkinson. Then, as they resume their seats, Reginald rises sulkily.
Admiral Rankling?
Jane appears at the door, wildly beckoning to Queckett.
Sir! Sir!
Not now! Not now! Go away!
Hush!
Hush! Hush!
Hush!
The girls motion Jane away. She retires. Queckett, to Reginald.
I beg pardon.
All I have to say is that the highest estimation Admiral Rankling can form of me will not do justice to my devotion to my wife.
Peggy, sotto voce.
Oh, beautiful.
Reginald, fiercely.
And I should like to know the individual, old or young, who would take my wife from me.
Mallory, to himself.
Many a husband would like to know that person.
In conclusion, as for Admiral Rankling's offer of a paternal friendship, I trust he will remember that offer if ever we should have occasion to remind him of it.
Looking at his watch.
And now I regret to say...
The girls rise. The men follow.
No, not before we have danced one quadrille.
Oh, yes.
A quadrille.
Uncle Vere will play for us.
No, Uncle Vere will not.
Oh, yes you will, Queckett, old fellow. Eh?
Well, with pleasure, Jack.
To himself.
How dare they?
Clear the floor.
Saunders and Mallory, assisted by Ermyntrude and Gwendoline, put back the table and chairs. Rankling, getting very good-humoured.
Upon my soul, I never saw such girls in my life. I wonder whether my Dinah is anything like 'em.
Dinah and Reginald are having a violent altercation.
Why should it dance with a husband? It is horrible form.
I can't see you led out by a stranger.
It is merely a quadrille.
Merely a quadrille? Woman, do you think I am marble?
Dinah, distractedly, turning to Rankling.
Admiral Rankling, are you going to dance?
Rankling, gallantly.
If you do me the honour, my dear madam.
She takes his arm. Reginald, madly, to Dinah.
Ah, flirt!
Queckett, to Peggy.
Get rid of them soon, or I shall become a gibbering idiot.
Mallory, slapping Queckett on the back.
Now then, Queckett.
Queckett goes to the piano. To Peggy.
Will you make me happy, dear Miss Peggy?
Thank you, Mr. Mallory. I never dance.
Taking his arm.
But I don't mind this once. Uncle!
Queckett, to himself.
I wash my hands of the entire party.
He plays the first figure of a quadrille while they dance. Rankling and Dinah, Saunders and Gwendoline, Mallory and Peggy, Ermyntrude and Reginald. They dance with brightness and animation, but whenever Reginald encounters Dinah there is a violent altercation. As the figure ends, Jane enters again, and runs to Queckett at the piano.
What is it?
Oh, sir, do come downstairs, as far down as you can get.
What do you mean?
That boy, Tyler, sir.
Tyler? Well?
He went off bang in the kitchen, sir, about 10 minutes ago. Them fireworks.
Fireworks? Where is he?
Gone for the engine, sir.
Queckett, rising.
The engines?
Uncle.
Uncle Vere.
Now then, Uncle.
Excuse me. Let somebody take my place at the piano. I'll be back in a moment.
Jane hurries out. he following her. Peggy, running to the piano and commencing a waltz.
A waltz. Change partners.
Rankling dances with Ermyntrude, Saunders with Gwendoline. Reginald is left out, but is wildly following Dinah, who is dancing with Mallory.
Not so fast, Miss Griffin. Not so fast.
Reginald, in Dinah's ear.
I shall require some explanation, madam.
Oh, Reginald!
There is the sound of a prolonged knocking at the street door, followed by a bell ringing violently. Peggy, playing.
Somebody wants to come in, evidently.
Suddenly the music and the dancing stop and everybody listens. Then they all run to the windows and look out.
What's that?
What's wrong?
Oh, look there.
Oh, there's such a crowd at our house.
Queckett re-enters with Jane, who sinks into a chair. Queckett looks very pale and frightened.
Listen to me, please.
What's the matter?
What's the matter?
What's the matter?
What's the matter? What's the matter?
What's the matter?
Don't be alarmed. Look at me. Imitate my self-possession.
What is the matter?
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 The matter. The weather is so unfavourable that the boy Tyler has been compelled to display fireworks on the premises.
Oh!
What
What
has
has
happened?
Pray don't be disturbed. There is not the slightest occasion for alarm. We now have the choice of one alternative.
What's that?
To get out without unnecessary delay.
The girls, clustering together.
Oh!
Rankling, assuming the tone of a commander.
Mr. Mallory! Mr. Saunders!
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mallory and Saunders place themselves beside Rankling.
Ladies, fetch your cloaks and wraps preparatory to breaking up our pleasant little party. Who volunteers to assist the ladies?
Aye, sir.
Aye, sir.
I do.
I do.
Mr. Mallory, tell off Mr. Queckett and Mr. Jenkinson to help the ladies.
The girls run out, followed by Reginald, Queckett, and Jane.
Mr. Mallory, Mr. Saunders.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All respective coats.
They bustle about to get their coats as the door quietly opens, and Jaffrey, a fireman, appears.
Good evening, gentlemen. Can you tell me where I'll find the ladies?
They're putting on their hats and cloaks.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm much obliged to you.
He goes to the window, pulls up the blind, and throws the window open. The top of a ladder is seen against the balcony.
Are you coming up, Mr. Goff?
Goff, out of sight.
Yes, Mr. Jaffrey.
Goff, a middle-aged, jolly-looking fireman, enters by the balcony and the window.
Gentlemen, Mr. Goff, one of the oldest and most respected members of the brigade. Mr. Goff tells some most interesting stories, gentlemen.
Rankling, impatiently.
Stories, sir? Call the ladies, Mr. Mallory.
Mallory goes out.
I shouldn't hurry them, sir. Ladies like to take their time. Now, I remember an incident in October 78.
Confound it, sir! You're not going to relate anecdotes now?
I beg your pardon, sir. Mr. Goff is one of the most experienced and entertaining members of the brigade.
I tell you I don't care about that just now. Where are the ladies?
Saunders goes out.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Goff's reminiscences are well worth hearing while you wait.
But I don't wish to wait.
Mallory and Peggy, Saunders and Gwendoline, Reginald and Dinah, followed by Jane, enter. The girls are hastily attired in all sorts of odd apparel, and carrying bonnet boxes, parcels, and small handbags. Ermyntrude carries, amongst other things, a cage of white mice, Gwendoline a bird in a cage, and Dinah a black cat, and Peggy a pair of skates and a brush and comb.
We're ready. Take us away.
I must really ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to take it quietly for a few minutes.
Take it quietly.
Take it
What for?
quietly.
Take it
What
quietly.
for?
Take it quietly.
What for?
Take it quietly.
Quiet.
What for?
What for?
The staircase isn't just the thing for ladies and gentlemen at the present moment. I shall have to ask the ladies and gentlemen to use the escape.
All, turning to the window.
The escape?
The escape?
Where?
The escape? Where is it?
Where is it?
The
The
escape?
escape. The escape.
Where
Where
is
is it?
It'll be here in 2 minutes. In the meantime, I think Mr. Goff could while away the time very pleasantly with a reminiscence or two. Ladies, Mr. Goff.
Oh, take us away. Take us away.
Mallory, Saunders, and Reginald sue the ladies. Geoffrey goes to the window and looks out. Goff, pleasantly seating himself and taking off his helmet.
Well, ladies, I don't know that I can tell you much to amuse you. However...
Be quiet, sir. We will not be entertained.
Geoffrey, carrying a hose from the window to the door.
Really, gentlemen, I must say I've never heard Mr. Goff treated so hasty at any conflagration.
He carries the hose out.
A fireman full of anecdote? I decline to appreciate any reminiscence whatever. So do we all.
Certainly.
All of us.
It was in July 79, ladies. My wife had just brought my tea to the Chandos Street station.
Geoffrey re-enters and goes to the window.
Will you be silent, sir?
Get up and do something.
Go away.
The escape, ladies and gentlemen. That window, one at a time.
There is a general movement and hubbub. Goff rises. He and Geoffrey disappear by the window on the left. Mallory throws open the other window, and Geoffrey appears outside and receives Dinah, Gwendoline, Ermyntrude, Peggy, and Jane as they escape.
Mr. Mallory! Mr. Saunders! Good evening.
Reginald disappears by the right-hand window. Saunders goes after him. Mallory is about to follow when Queckett enters hurriedly. Queckett is in a tall hat, a short covert coat, and carries gloves and an umbrella. He is flourishing a letter. Queckett, pulling Mallory back.
Jack! Jack!
Hello.
I'm going back to save some valuables. Directly you get down, post that letter. Oh, Jack, it's so important.
Mallory, looking at the letter.
To the Eagle Fire Insurance Company.
Quite so. Slipped my memory.
Mallory disappears. Geoffrey follows him. Rankling, hurrying to Queckett.
My dear Queckett, it is the commander's duty to be the last to leave the ship. You are master here. Thank you for your hospitality. Good night.
My dear Rankling, thank you for coming to see me. Good night.
Geoffrey appears at the window.
It's all right, gentlemen. There's a kind lady down below who is taking everybody into her house for the night. Mrs. Rankling of Portland Place.
Mrs. Rankling? That's my wife.
Queckett disappears.
Is she, sir? Glad to hear it. Then they are all your visitors till tomorrow.
Confound it, sir! Where do I live?
Just at the corner here, sir. 100 yards off.
Then where am I now?
Miss Dyott's boarding school, sir. Volumnia College.
What?
He and Geoffrey go out by the window on the right as Goff enters by the window on the left.
Where is he?
Calling at the door.
Sir, here's the lady of the house. Rode up on an engine from Piccadilly. Make haste. She says she will come up the ladder.
Queckett enters quickly, dragging after him several boxes of cigars.
A lady? What lady?
Miss Dyott appears at the window. She is in the gorgeous dress of an opera bouffe queen, with a flaxen wig much disarranged and a crown on one side. Recoiling.
Caroline!
Miss Dyott, entering and taking him by the collar.
Come down.
She drags him towards the window. End of the second act. Act 3 of The Schoolmistress by Arthur Wing Pinero. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The third act. The Nightmare. The scene is a well-furnished, tastefully decorated morning-room in the house of Admiral Rankling. At the further end of the room there are two double doors facing each other, one with glazed panels opening to a conservatory, the other to a dark room. There are also two doors near to the pillars that support an archway spanning the room. All is in darkness, save for a faint glow from the fire, and a blue light coming through the conservatory windows. Peggy, dressed as before, enters quietly, looking about her.
Where have I got to now, I wonder? What a dreadful wilderness of a house to wander about in the dark, all alone. Oh, for the daylight.
Looking at her watch.
6:30. Why, gracious, here's a spark of fire. Oh, joy!
She goes down on her knees and replenishes the fire with coal from the scuttle. The door opens and Gwendolen peeps in.
What room is this?
Entering noiselessly.
Will the day never break?
Frightened and retreating as Peggy makes a noise blowing up the fire.
Oh!
Oh, who is that?
Looking around.
Gwendolen?
Peggy!
Are you wandering about too?
Yes, I can't sleep. Can you?
Peggy, shivering.
Sleep? No. As if I could sleep in a strange bed in a strange house, in one of Admiral Rankling's nightgowns. You didn't meet any daylight on the stairs, did you?
Another door opens, and Ermyntrude enters noiselessly. Gwendolen, clinging to Peggy.
Oh, look there!
Ermyntrude, in a whisper.
I wonder where I am now.
Ermyntrude.
Ermyntrude, clinging to a chair.
Ah!
Be quiet. It's we. It's us. It's her and me. Oh, my grammar's going now.
Can't you girls get to sleep?
I should think not.
There wasn't any daylight in your room when you came down, was there?
I thought I saw a glimmer through the window on the first-floor landing.
Ah, perhaps that's some of yesterday's. I know. I've made up the fire. Let us bivouac here till daybreak, 2 by the fire, and take it in turns for the sofa.
Picking up a bearskin rug and carrying it to the sofa.
Who's first for the sofa?
Oh, Ermyntrude.
Gwendolen.
Come along, Gwendolen.
Gwendolen puts herself upon the sofa, and Peggy covers her with the bearskin.
There, as soon as you drop off to sleep, it will be Ermyntrude's turn.
Looking through the conservatory doors.
Oh, how the snow is coming down.
Joining Ermyntrude, who is warming her hands by the fire. She sits in an armchair.
Peggy, do you know what has become of poor Dinah?
Yes, she's locked up, upstairs, till the morning. Admiral Rankling locked her up.
Gwendolen, from the sofa.
It's a shame.
Go to sleep. Oh, what a scene there was. Admiral Rankling foamed at the mouth. It was lucky they got Mr. Queckett away from him in time.
Where is Mr. Queckett?
Go to sleep.
Ermyntrude, leaning against Peggy's knees.
Mr. Queckett is locked up too, isn't he?
Of course he is. Till the morning. Miss Dyott locked him up. Very properly, I think.
And where's Miss Dyott?
Upstairs, in the room next to mine, in hysterics. Hush, I do believe Gwendolen has gone off. Are you pretty comfortable?
Ermyntrude, her head on Peggy's lap.
Yes, thank you.
The door quietly opens, and Saunders appears. Peggy and Ermyntrude are hidden from him by the armchair.
I can't sleep in my room. Where have they put Uncle Jack, I wonder?
Seeing Gwendolen, who is sleeping with the light from the conservatory windows upon her.
Oh, what's that?
Going softly up to Gwendolen and looking at her.
Why, here's my Gwen. I wonder if she'd mind my sitting near her.
Turning up his coat collar and sitting gently on the footstool, he leans against the head of the sofa drowsily.
Now, if any robbers wanted to hurt Gwen, I could kill them.
Closing his eyes wearily. Soon there is a sound of heavy regular breathing from the 4 sleeping figures. The door opens, and Mallory enters. Mallory, shivering.
Ugh. Can't get a blessed wink of sleep. Where have I wandered to? Why, this is the room where the awful row was.
Seeing Gwendoline.
Hello. Here's one of those schoolgirls.
Discovering Saunders.
And, well, this nephew of mine is a devil of a fellow. That isn't a glimmer of a fire, surely.
Walking toward the fireplace, he nearly stumbles over Ermyntrude.
More girls.
He accidentally knocks over the scuttle. They all wake with a start.
What's that?
Who is it?
Hush. Don't be frightened. It's only I.
Mr. Mallory.
I've been wandering about. Can't sleep.
No, we can't sleep either.
Well, I don't know about that.
Ermyntrude lights the candle on mantelpiece.
Why haven't you and Mr. Saunders gone home? You're not burnt out.
Perhaps not, but Admiral Rankling asked me to remain. And if he hadn't, I'm not going to leave this house till my friend Queckett is out of danger.
Out of danger?
Yes. Are you aware that you young ladies have brought very grave difficulties upon that unfortunate gentleman?
Peggy, crying.
He encouraged us. He's a man.
Now, pray don't cry, my dear miss. What is your name this morning?
Hesslerigge. And I wish I'd never been born.
Hesslerigge. And you wish you'd never been born.
Taking her hand.
Well, Miss Hesslerigge, the serious aspect of the affair is that Admiral Rankling has a most violent, ungovernable temper.
Peggy, tearfully.
I know. I've never seen a gentleman foam at the mouth before. It's quite a new experience.
Of course. Of course. And therefore, I'm apprehensive for poor Mr. Queckett's bodily safety. Meanwhile, I won't disturb you any longer. Come along, Saunders.
Where are you going?
To the front door, to speak a word or two of encouragement to that young fellow, Paulover.
Oh, is he outside still? In the snow?
Why, he's been walking up and down on the other side of the way all night.
And you haven't let him in?
How could I? You forget that our host has forbidden him the house.
No, I don't. I saw them roll out on the road together. Girls, shall we open the front door, or shall we remain the mere slaves of etiquette?
Well, I should like to let him in.
Certainly, why not?
Come along. I know the way.
Saunders, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude go out quietly. Mallory, to Peggy.
Well, you'll perhaps pardon my saying that you are a devil-may-care little schoolgirl.
You make a great mistake. I am not a schoolgirl. I am struggling to be a governess.
Ah, I hope you'll make your way in your profession.
Peggy has discovered the spirit stand on the sideboard, and now places it on the table.
What are you going to do now?
Brew poor Mr. Paulover something hot.
Bringing the kettle and spirit lamp to the table.
Light this lamp for me, please.
He lights the lamp.
If you can recommend me at any time to a lady with young daughters, I shall be grateful.
I will. I will.
I think I am almost capable of finishing any young lady now.
I am sure you are.
Looking at the spirit lamp.
Is that a light?
They put their heads down close together to look at the lighted lamp.
That's all right.
Seems so.
They rise and look at each other.
We'd better watch it, perhaps, in case it goes out.
They bob down again with their heads together and both sit on the same chair.
You'll get into an awful scrape over your share in last night's business, won't you?
Frightful. The thought depresses me.
Do you think Miss Dyott, or Mrs. Queckett, or whatever she is, will send you home?
She can't. She's got me forever. She took me years ago for a bad debt.
How can she punish you then?
I think she will withdraw her confidence from me.
You won't despair, will you?
I'll try not to.
What a jolly little sailor's wife you'd make, brewing grog like this.
I hope I should do my duty in any station of life to which I might be called.
I'm a sailor, you know.
No, are you?
Mallory, taking her hand and putting it to his lips.
You know I am.
Peggy, suddenly.
It's going to boil over.
They jump up quickly. Mallory retreats.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Gwendoline and Ermyntrude enter, leading Reginald, with Saunders following. Reginald is in a deplorable condition, covered with snow and icicles. His face is white and his nose red.
Oh, poor Mr. Paulover.
He's frostbitten.
Thaw him by degrees.
Peggy mixes the grog. Gwendoline and Ermyntrude lead Reginald to a chair before the fire, he uttering some violent but incoherent exclamations.
He's annoyed with Admiral Rankling.
The girls chafe his hands while he still mutters, with his eyes rolling.
It's a good job his language is frozen.
Putting the glass of grog to his lips, Reginald, reviving.
Thank you. Take my hat off, please. I bought it from a cabman.
Gwendoline removes his hat, which is very shabby.
Good morning. Where's my wife, Dinah?
She's quite safe.
I must see her. Speak to her.
You can't. She's locked up.
Then I must push a long letter under her door. She shall know that I am going to walk up and down outside this house all my life. Bring writing materials.
I'll hunt for the pen and ink.
So will I.
Reginald, to Peggy.
No, you do it. These men are bachelors. They can't feel for me.
Here's a writing table.
Peggy runs to Mallory and opens the lid of the writing table.
Note paper and envelopes. Where's the...
Opening one of the small drawers, she starts back with a cry.
Oh!
They all turn and look at her.
What's the matter?
Peggy, taking from the drawer a large bunch of keys, each with a small label, which she examines breathlessly.
Duplicate keys of all the rooms in the house? What gross carelessness, to leave keys in an open drawer. Girls, why should not we impress this fact upon Admiral Rankling by releasing Dinah immediately?
Oh, yes.
Reginald, seizing Peggy's hand.
Oh, Miss Hesslerigge, my father-in-law is entertaining an angel unawares.
Oh, stop. I don't think we're quite justified.
Ha! I told you he was merely a bachelor.
Pointing to Saunders.
So is his companion. Give me the keys.
No, I take responsibility of this. I am a girl.
Going towards the door and looking at Mallory and Saunders as they make way for her.
I hope you will repent your line of conduct, gentlemen.
She goes out.
I think we all shall.
There is a sudden noise, as of someone falling down a couple of stairs. They start and listen.
Oh!
What's that?
Ermyntrude, looking out at door.
Here's Admiral Rankling.
There is a suppressed exclamation with a silent scamper to the further end of the room.
What the deuce does a respectable man want out of bed at this unearthly hour?
Rankling, in a rage, outside the door.
Confound that!
Oh!
Reginald, opening the door leading to the dark room.
Here's a room here. Shall we condescend to hide?
Yes.
Yes.
They disappear hastily as Rankling appears, in a dressing gown, his face pale and his eyes red and wild.
Hello? Someone's been sitting up. Candles and a fire. Ah.
Sniffing and walking about the room, He goes straight to the mantelpiece upon which Reginald's grog has been left, and takes up the tumbler.
It's Mallory.
With suppressed passion,
It's against the rules for anyone to sit up in my house. But I don't mind, Mallory. I don't.
Looking at sofa.
Hello? Mallory's been turning in here.
Going to the sofa and sitting there shaking with anger.
Are we never to have any more daylight? How long am I to wait till that miserable schoolmistress releases the worm Queckett? Queckett! Uncle Vere! The reptile who has made a fool of me in the eyes of my wife and daughter. But I must husband my strength for Queckett. I have been a very careful man all my life. As far as muscular economy goes, Queckett shall have the savings of a lifetime.
Lying down and pulling the rug over him.
Uncle Vere! I was a wild, impetuous, daring lad once.
Going to sleep.
And I can be unpleasant, even now. I can. The Admiralty doesn't know it. Emma doesn't know it. Queckett shall know it.
He breathes heavily. The others have been peeping from their hiding place, and as they close the door, Peggy enters alone, quickly but silently. She looks for the others, then almost falls over Rankling on the sofa, at which she retreats with a suppressed screech of horror. Mallory opens the further door and gesticulates to her violently to be silent. Peggy, petrified.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Mallory comes and bends over Rankling, listening to his breathing. He then goes to Peggy.
He's dropped off. Where is Mrs. Paulover?
She's not on that side of the house.
I've a plan for disposing of the old gentleman. Try the other side.
I'm going to.
Turning and clutching Mallory.
But, oh, Mr. Mallory, what do you think I've done?
That's impossible to conjecture.
I've made a mistake about the doors, and I have unlocked Mr. Queckett.
She goes out quickly. Mallory thinks for a moment, then bursts into a fit of silent laughter.
I love that girl.
Reginald appears at the further door, gesticulating.
Where is my wife? I cannot live longer without her. Where is Dinah?
Hush. She'll be here in a minute. Come out of there and lend me a hand.
Saunders, Gwendoline, and Ermyntrude enter on tiptoe. To Reginald.
Now then, gently.
Mallory and Reginald each take an end of the sofa and carry Rankling out through the door into the dark room.
If they bump him, all's lost.
Mallory and Reginald reappear.
I feel warmer now.
Turn the key.
Reginald turns the key as Dinah and Peggy enter cautiously.
Dinah!
Reggie!
My wife!
Reginald rushes down to Dinah and embraces her frantically. There is a general cry of relief as Mallory embraces Peggy, and Gwendoline throws her arms around Saunders. Suddenly, there is the sound of someone stumbling downstairs, accompanied by a smothered exclamation. All, listening.
What's that?
What's that?
What's that?
Ermyntrude, peeping out at the door.
Here's Uncle Vere got loose. He's fallen downstairs.
Oh, bother. Come along, Dinah.
Reginald and Dinah, Saunders, Ermyntrude, and Gwendoline go out quickly. Peggy, to Mallory.
Rather bad taste of your nephew and those girls to run after a newly married couple, isn't it?
Yes, we won't do it.
No, but we don't want to be bothered with your old friend Queckett, do we?
No, he's an awful bore. Is the conservatory heated?
Peggy, taking his arm.
I don't mind if it isn't.
They disappear into the conservatory. The door opens, and Queckett, his face pale and haggard, enters, still wearing his hat and the short covert coat over his evening dress, and carrying his gloves and umbrella.
To whom am I indebted for being let out? Was it by way of treachery, I wonder? Somebody has been sitting up late or rising early. Who is it?
sniffing and looking about him, then going straight to the mantelpiece, taking up the tumbler and smelling the contents.
I'm anxious not to do anyone an injustice, but that's Peggy. Oh, what a night I've passed. I have no hesitation in saying that the extremely bad behaviour of Caroline, of the lady I have married, and the ungovernable rage of Rankling are indelibly impressed upon me.
Looking round nervously.
Good gracious! I'm actually in the room where Rankling announced his intention of ultimately dislocating my vertebrae. I shall certainly not winter in England.
The clock strikes 7. He looks at his watch.
7. It will be wise to remain here till the first gleam of daylight, and then leave the house, unostentatiously. I will exchange no explanations with Caroline. I shall simply lay the whole circumstance of my injudicious, boyish marriage before my brother Bob and the other members of my family. Any allowance which Caroline may make me shall come through them.
There is a sound of something falling and breaking outside the room.
The deuce! What's that?
Going on tiptoe over to the door and peeping out.
Somebody has knocked something over.
Snatching up his hat, gloves, and umbrella.
I shan't wait till daybreak if they're breaking other things.
He hurries to the other door, opens it, looks out, and closes it quickly.
People sitting on the stairs. Is this a plot to surround me? The conservatory?
He goes quickly to the conservatory doors, opens them, and then draws back, closing them quickly.
2 persons under a palm tree.
There is a knock at the door on the right.
Oh!
Seeing the door leading to the dark room.
Where does that lead to?
He tries the door, unlocks it, and looks in.
A dark room. Oh, I'm so thankful.
He disappears, closing the door after him. The knocking outside is repeated. Then the door opens, and Miss Dyott enters. She is dressed in her burlesque queen costume. Her face is pale. She carries the head, broken off at the neck, of a terracotta bust of a woman.
I have broken a bust now. It is an embarrassing thing to break a bust in the house of comparative strangers. Oh, will it never be daylight? Does the milkman never come to Portland Place? I have been listening at the keyhole of Vere's room. Not a sound. He can sleep with the ruin of Volumnia College upon his conscience, while I...
Sinking into a chair.
I realize now the correctness of the poet's observation. Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown.
Queckett comes quietly from the dark room, much terrified.
Rankling's in there! Asleep! In the dark I sat on him! Oh, what a narrow escape I've had!
Coming behind Miss Dyott and suddenly seeing her.
Caroline! Scylla and Charybdis!
He bolts back into the dark room. Miss Dyott, rising, alarmed.
What's that?
Mrs. Rankling enters in a peignoir.
I heard something fall.
Seeing Miss Dyott.
Mrs. Queckett.
Distantly.
Instructions were given that everybody should be called at 8. I had arranged that a more appropriate costume should be placed at your disposal.
Seeing the broken bust.
Ah, what has happened?
I knocked over a pedestal.
Mrs. Rankling, distressed.
Oh, bust of myself by belt. I saw him working on it. Oh, Mrs. Queckett, is there no end of the trouble you have brought upon us?
The trouble you have brought upon me.
What? Why didn't you tell us you had a husband?
Why didn't you tell me that Dinah had a husband?
We didn't know it.
Well, if you didn't know your own daughter was married, how can you wonder at your ignorance of other people's domestic complications?
But that's not all. You have informed us that you are now actually contributing to a nightly entertainment of a volatile description, that you are positively being laughed at in public.
Isn't it better to be laughed at in public and paid for it, than to be sniggered at privately for nothing.
Mrs. Queckett, you are revealing your true character.
It is the same as your own, an undervalued wife. Let me open your eyes as mine are opened. We have engaged to love and to honour 2 men.
I have done nothing of the kind.
I mean 1 each.
Oh, excuse me?
Now, looking at him microscopically, is there much to love and to honour in Admiral Rankling?
He is a genial after-dinner speaker. It is true he is rather austere.
An austere sailor, all bows abroad and stern at home. Well, then, knowing what occurred last night, is there anything to love and to honour in Mr. Queckett?
Nothing whatever.
Miss Dyott, annoyed.
And yet he is undoubtedly the superior of Admiral Rankling. Very well, then, do as I mean to do. Put your foot down. If heaven has gifted you with a large one, so much the better.
The voices of Queckett and Rankling are heard suddenly raised in the adjoining room.
Queckett!
My dear Rankling.
Vere.
The Admiral has released your husband.
I'll trouble you, sir.
Certainly, Rankling.
Come away and I will advise you. Bring your head with you.
Miss Dyott and Mrs. Rankling, carrying the broken bust, hurry out as Queckett enters quickly, followed by Rankling.
Admiral Rankling, I shall mark my opinion of your behaviour through the post.
Sit down.
Thank you. I've been sitting. I sat on you on the sofa.
Sit down.
Queckett sits promptly.
As an old friend of your family, Mr. Queckett, I am going to have a quiet chat with you on family matters.
Rankling wheels the armchair near Queckett. Queckett to himself.
I don't like his calmness. I don't like his calmness.
Rankling sits bending forward and glaring at Queckett.
How is your sister Janet? Quite well, eh? Tell me, without a moment's delay, sir, how is Janet?
Permit me to say, Admiral Rankling, that whatever your standing with other members of my family, you have no acquaintance with the lady you mention.
Oh, haven't I?
Drawing his chair nearer Queckett.
Very well, then. Is Griffin quite well? Finch Griffin of the Berkshire Royals?
I do not know how Major Griffin is, and I feel I do not care.
Oh, you don't? Very well, then.
Drawing his chair still nearer Queckett.
Will you answer me one simple but important question?
If it be a question a gentleman may answer, certainly.
How often do you hear from your brother Tankerville?
Oh.
Rankling, clutching Queckett's knee.
He's Deputy Inspector of Prisons in British Guiana, you know. Doesn't have time to write often, does he?
Admiral Rankling, you will permit me to remind you that in families of long standing and complicated interests, there are regrettable estrangements which should be lightly dealt with.
Affected.
You have recalled memories.
Rising.
Excuse me.
Rankling, rising.
No, sir, I will not excuse you.
Where are my gloves?
Because, Mr. Queckett, I have your assurance as a gentleman that your brother Tankerville's daughter is married to a charming young fellow of the name of Parkinson. Now I've discovered that Parkinson is really a charming young fellow of the name of Paulover, so that as Paulover has married my daughter, as well as Tankerville's, Paulover must be prosecuted for bigamy. And as you know that Paulover was Parkinson and Parkinson Paulover, you connived at the crime, inasmuch as knowing Paulover was Tankerville's daughter's husband, you deliberately aided Parkinson in making my child Dinah his wife. But that's not the worst of it.
Oh?
Because I have since received your gentlemanly assurance that Tankerville's daughter is my daughter. Now, either you mean to say that I've behaved like a blackguard to Tankerville, which will be a libel, or that Tankerville has conducted himself with less than common fairness to me, which will be a divorce, and in either case, without wishing to anticipate the law, I shall personally chastise you, because although I've been a sailor on the high seas for 45 years, I have never, during the whole of that period, listened to such a yarn of mendacious fabrication as you spun me last night.
Queckett, beginning to carefully put on his gloves.
It would be idle to deny that this affair has now assumed its most unpleasant aspect. Admiral Rankling, the time has come for candour on both sides.
Be quick, sir.
I am being quick, Rankling. I admit, with all the rapidity of utterance of which I am capable, that my assurances of last night were founded upon an airy basis.
In plain words, lies, Mr. Queckett.
A habit of preparing election manifestos for various members of my family may have impaired a fervent admiration for truth, in which I yield to no man.
Rankling, advancing in a determined manner.
Very well, sir.
Queckett, retreating.
One moment, Rankling. One moment, if not two. I glean that you are prepared to assault...
To chastise!
Well, to inconvenience a man at whose table you feasted last night. Do so.
I will do so.
I say, do so. But the triumph when you kneel upon my body, for I am bound to tell you that I shall lie down, the triumph will be mine.
You are welcome to it, sir. Put down that umbrella.
What for?
I haven't an umbrella.
You haven't? Allow me to leave this room, my dear Rankling, and I'll beg your acceptance of this one.
Rankling advances fiercely. Queckett retreats. Miss Dyott enters.
Caroline!
Stop, Admiral Rankling, if you please. Any reprimand, physical or otherwise, will be administered to Mr. Queckett at my hands.
I would have preferred Rankling. Rankling I could have winded.
He goes out quickly, Miss Dyott following in pursuit.
Vere?
I am in my own house, madam.
Mrs. Rankling enters, carrying the broken bust.
Emma, go to bed.
Archibald Rankling, attend to me. Don't roll your eyes, but attend to me.
Emma, your tone is dictatorial.
It is meant to be so, because after 17 years of married life I am going to speak my mind at last.
Holding up the head before him.
Archibald, look at that.
What's that?
Myself, less than 10 years ago, the sculpture's earliest effort.
Broken, made of bad stuff. Send it back.
It is your memory I wish to send back. Ah, Archibald, do you see how round and plump those cheeks are?
People alter. You were stout then.
I was.
In those days I was thin.
Frightfully.
Very well then. The average remains the same. Some day we may return to the old arrangement.
If you ever find yourself a spare man again, Archibald, it won't be because I have worried and fretted you with my peevish ill humour.
Emma!
As you have worried and worn me with yours.
Emma, you have completely lost your head.
She raises the broken bust.
I don't mean that confounded bust. That was an ideal.
And if a mere sculpture could make your wife an ideal, why shouldn't you try? So, understand me finally, Archibald, I will not be ground down any longer. Unless some arrangement is arrived at for the happiness of dear Dinah and Mr. Paulover, I leave you.
Leave me?
This very day.
Wantonly desert your home and husband, Emma?
Yes.
Covering his face with his handkerchief.
And I don't know where to put my hand upon even a necktie.
And the world shall learn how highly you thought of Dinah's marriage at Mr. Queckett's party last night.
Oh.
And what a very different man you have always been in your own home. And take care, Archibald, that the verdict of posterity is not that you were less a husband and father than a tyrant and oppressor.
Queckett enters, with Miss Dyott in pursuit. She follows him out.
Vere!
Rankling blows his nose and wipes his eyes, and looks at Mrs. Rankling.
Emma! Emma!
Oh, dear! Oh, dear!
Emma! Don't tuck your head under your arm in that way!
She puts the broken bust on the table.
Emma, there have been grave faults on both sides. Yours I will endeavour to overlook.
Ah, now you are your dear old self again.
But Emma, you are occasionally an irritating woman to live with.
You are the first who has ever said that.
So I should hope, Emma.
And poor Dinah? You will forgive her?
On condition that she doesn't see Paulover's face again for 5 years.
Oh, there will be no difficulty about that.
Reginald and Dinah enter. She is dressed for flight.
Papa!
My father-in-law!
They retreat hastily.
Who let you out? Who let you in?
He goes out after them. Mrs. Rankling follows.
Archibald, continue your dear old self.
Queckett enters by another door, Miss Dyott following him, both out of breath. They look at each other, recovering themselves.
I understand that you wish to speak to me, Caroline.
Oh, you paltry little man. You mean, ungrateful little creature. You laced-up little heap of pompous pauperism. I cannot adequately describe you. Wretch!
Queckett, putting on his gloves again.
Have you finished with me, Caroline?
Finished with you? I shall never have finished with you. Never, till you leave me.
Queckett, rising.
Till I leave you?
Till you leave me a widow.
Queckett, resuming his seat, disappointed.
Oh.
You don't think I expect you to leave me anything else? Oh, what could I have seen in you?
I take it, Caroline, that in the language of the hunting field, you scented a gentleman.
Scented a gentleman? In the few weeks of our marriage, I have scented you and cigaretted you, wined you and liquored you, tailored and hatted and booted you. I have darned and mended and washed you, gruelled you with a cold, tinctured you with a toothache, and linimented you with the gout. Have I not? Have I not?
You certainly have had exceptional privileges. Familiarity appears to have fulfilled its usual functions and bred...
the most utter contempt. Have I not paid your debts?
Not at my suggestion.
And all for what?
I assume for love's dear sake, Carrie.
For the sake of having the vestal seclusion of Volumnia College telegraphically denominated as bachelor diggings.
Any collection of young ladies may be so described. The description is happy but harmless. As for the subsequent conflagration...
Don't talk about it.
I say with all sincerity that from the moment the fire broke out till I escaped, no one regretted it more than myself. That was Tyler.
Tyler? What Tyler? I make no historical reference when I say what Tyler was it who abruptly tore aside the veil of mystery which had hitherto shrouded the existence of champagne and lobster salad from 4 young girls. It was you.
No, it wasn't, Carrie. Upon my word. Upon my honour. Those vexing pupils played the very devil with me. After you left, the pupils, as it were, dilated.
Yes, and you ordered them champagne glasses, I suppose. Oh, deceiver.
You talk of deception. What about the 3 o'clock train from Paddington?
It was the whole truth. There was one.
But you didn't travel in it. What about the clergyman's wife at Hereford?
Go there. You will find several.
But you're not staying with them. Oh, Carrie, how can you meet my fearless glance when you recall that my last words yesterday were, "Cabman, drive to Paddington. The lady will pay your fare."
I cannot deny that it is by accident you have discovered that I am Queen Honorine in Otto Bernstein's successful comic opera.
And what do you think my family would think of that?
It is true that the public now know me as Miss Constance Delaporte.
Oh, Miss Constance Delaporte.
The new and startling contralto. Her first appearance.
And have I, a Queckett, after all, gone and married a Connie?
You have. It is true, too, that last night, while you and my pupils were dilating, I was singing. Aye, and at one important juncture, dancing.
No, no, not dancing.
Madly, desperately, hysterically dancing.
And to think, if there was any free list, that my brother Bob may have been there.
But do you guess the one thought that prompted me, buoyed me up, guided my steps, and ultimately produced the lower G of exceptional power?
No.
The thought that every note I sang might bring a banknote to my lonely Vere at home.
Carrie.
I went through the performance in a dream. The conductor's baton beat nothing but Vere, Vere, Vere into my eyes. Someone applauded me. I thought, that's worth a new hat to Vere. I sang my political verse. A man very properly hissed. He has smashed Vere's new hat, I murmured. At last came my important solo. I drew a long breath, saw a vision of you reading an old copy of The Rock by the fireside at home, and opened my mouth. I remembered nothing more till I found myself wildly dancing to the refrain of my song. The audience yelled with approbation. I bowed again and again, and then tottered away to sink into the arms of the prompter with the words, "Vere, catch your Carrie."
But my family, my brother Bob.
What have they ever done for you? While it was my ambition to devote every penny of my salary to your little wants.
And isn't it?
No, Vere Albany Bute Queckett, it isn't. The moment I dragged you down that ladder last night and left behind me the smouldering ruins of Volumnia College, I became an altered woman.
Then I will lay the whole affair before my family.
Do, and tell them to what your selfishness has brought you. That where there was love there is disdain. Where there was claret there will be beer. Where there were cigars there will be pipes. And where there was pool there will be keno.
Oh, why didn't I wait and marry a lady?
You did marry a lady, but scratch the lady, and you find a hard-working comic actress.
Be silent, madam.
This is my revenge, Vere Queckett. Tonight I will dance more wildly, more demonstratively than ever.
I forbid it.
You forbid it. You dictate to Constance Delaporte, the hit of the opera. I am Queen Honorine.
She slaps her hands and sings with great abandonment, and in the pronounced manner of the Buffo Queen, the song she is supposed to sing in Bernstein's opera.
Reen, reen, Honorine, mighty weather wife or queen, firmer ruler never seen, and reen, reen, la.
I will write to my married sisters.
Do, and I will call upon them. Man's a boasting, fretting fumer, smoking alcohol consumer, quick of temper, ill of humour.
Oh, you shall sing this to my family.
I will.
With her hands upon her hips.
Woman has no petty vices, cuts her sins in good thick slices, with a smile that's sweet and nicest.
Oh.
Refrain.
Singing and dancing.
Reen, reen, Honorine, mighty weather wife or queen, firmer ruler never seen, and reen, reen, la.
She sinks into a chair.
Oh, I will tell my brother of you.
Daylight appears through the conservatory doors. Mrs. Rankling and Dinah enter. Mallory and Peggy enter from conservatory spooning.
My dear Mrs. Queckett, I owe everything to you. My treatment of the dear Admiral has had wonderful results. What do you think? The Admiral and Mr. Paulover are quite reconciled and understand each other perfectly.
Rankling and Paulover enter, glaring at each other and quarrelling violently in undertones.
Look, the Admiral already regards him as his own child.
Saunders, Ermyntrude, and Gwendoline enter and join Peggy and Mallory.
But we are to be separated for 5 years. Oh, Reggie, you trust me implicitly, don't you?
I do, and that is why I warn you never to let me hear of you addressing another man.
Oh, Reggie.
They embrace.
Don't do that. You don't see me behaving in that way to Mrs. Rankling, and we've been married for years.
Mrs. Rankling to Dinah.
But you and Mr. Paulover are to be allowed to meet once every quarter.
Yes, in the presence of Admiral Rankling and a policeman.
Mrs. Rankling, Dinah, and Reginald join the others. Otto Bernstein enters quickly and excitedly, carrying a quantity of newspapers.
I beg your pardon. I must see Miss Constance Delaporte, I mean Miss Dyott.
Mr. Bernstein.
Your house is burned down. It does not matter. You have made a great hit in my new my comic opera. I have been walking up and down Fleet Street, waiting for the papers to come out.
Handing round all the newspapers.
Their Times, their Telegraph, their Daily News, their Standard, their Post, their Chronicle. They are all complimentary except one, and that I give to the cabman.
Miss Dyott, reading.
Miss Delaporte, a decided acquisition.
Go on.
Queckett, reading.
Miss Delaporte, an imposing figure. What do they know about it?
Go on, go on. I always say I do not read the papers, but I do.
To Miss Dyott.
You will get £50 a week in my next oratorio, I mean my comic opera.
£50 a week? My Carrie! I shall be able to snap my fingers at my damn family.
How very pleasing.
Reading.
A voice of great purity, a correct intonation, and a lower G of decided volume rendered attractive some music not remarkable for grace or originality.
Bernstein takes the paper from Mrs. Rankling.
I did not see that. I will give that to the gapman. Goodbye, I cannot stay. I am going to have a Turkish bath till the evening papers come out. I always say I do not read the evening papers, but I do.
He bustles out.
Mrs. Queckett, I shall book stalls at once to hear your singing.
No, Emma, dress circle.
Stalls, Archibald.
Rankling, glaring.
Dress circle.
Stalls, Archibald, or I leave you forever.
Very well, Emma. I have no desire but to please you.
I take this as a great compliment, my dear Rankling. Carrie and I thank you. But I can't hear of it. I insist on offering you both a seat in my box.
Your box?
Queckett, softly to her.
Hush, Carrie, my darling. Your Vere's private box.
Mr. Queckett's private box, during my absence at night, will be our lodgings, where he will remain under lock and key.
Peggy laughs at Queckett.
Oh, you vexing girl.
Excuse me, my dear Queckett, but while looking at the plants in the conservatory, I became engaged to Miss Hesslerigge.
There is a general exclamation of surprise.
Ah, coward, you haven't to wait 5 years.
Jane enters.
Oh, if you please, ma'am. Tyler.
Tyler?
Tyler wants to know who's to pay him the reward for being the first to fetch the fire engines last night.
I will.
No, I will. Tyler has rendered me a signal service. He has demolished Volumnia College. From the ashes of that establishment rises the phoenix of my new career. Miss Dyott is extinct. Miss Delaporte is alive, and during the evening kicking. I hope none will regret the change. I shall not, for one, while the generous public allow me to remain a favourite.
End of Act 3. End of The Schoolmistress by Arthur Wing Pinero.